Guru Nation just made it home after a long day of finally wrapping up all of our SOS Save Our Sites live streams with all of our sponsors. I wanted to thank all of our sponsors for making it possible. And you're going to see a marathon of sponsor live streams that I picked out. They all feature me because it's for my channel, and they're not all of them, but they're some of the more interesting conversations. So hopefully you enjoy. It's something different that I've done, and a lot of you guys have been watching the shorts and asking where are the longer videos. Well, they technically live on our Save Our Sites LinkedIn page, but I decided to throw up some of them today. So here's a marathon watch list for you guys, all in one video. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a week of not posting very much here on YouTube because of the conference, but afterwards, you know we're gonna have content. So like, subscribe, comment, share. Let me know if you want this merch. Bye-bye. And we are now live, guys. Live from Detroit, Michigan.
Live, Hisham.
Vida Clinical Studies. Thank you so much for sponsoring us at
No
SOS.
problem.
It means a lot from one small business to another that we support our own.
Absolutely.
And we really appreciate it. I think we definitely need more companies like Vida Clinical Studies out in underserved communities. We were just talking. We've never done a one-on-one pod. I would like to do one with you in person at SOS,
Likewise.
and it might go 3 hours. I mean, we don't know because you got a lot of
I'm not
stories
that
to tell.
interesting of a guy.
You're extremely interesting, and
I tend to agree with Dan, Mr. Hisham.
if you guys don't know Hisham, founder and CEO of Vida Clinical Studies, we're gonna get into this. Is just a quick like appetizer for you guys. But he's one of the most uh, interesting and enthusiastic and friendly people in this industry. And he's one of the few people you can do a handshake deal with and not worry about contracts and things like that. So, Hisham, thank you for coming on and for supporting
Thank
us.
you, guys. Thank you. To the viewers, I'd like to say that the clinical research gurus, Dan and Chris, I've known them for a while. I think it doesn't feel like it, but I think it's been a decade.
More, maybe
When I
more.
called them, I was in Arizona. I was wondering if I should enter my master's program in clinical research management. And I called them. I said, hey, man, maybe I'll open up a site. And then they said, okay, you can join our networking group. And then I remember I joined the networking group. I came out to Michigan, and one of the first independent sites. Nobody knew about it here in Detroit. Started the group, started my company. And I remember I got my first 3 studies from Chris. He got like a Allergan study for diabetic gastroparesis, and everything fell into place. I just started enrolling. Yeah, but these guys have great knowledge. Yeah, always here to support each other, man. That's how you get forward in business. Is you gotta have. Look, if you're doing business right, you're gonna have enemies, but you gotta have allies too, because you can't fight everybody off alone. You can't make this money alone. You gotta share the wealth.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
I agree. And there's actually a lot of interesting history on merchants, and merchants have to innovate before the laws become law. So there's like this. That's where the phrase "there's honor amongst thieves." Like they actually created their own virtue system, and honoring each other, and real merchants, and then they knew how to ostracize the actual thieves. But I think in our industry, it sort of felt like that for a long time, where we were on our own, just trying to figure things out. Like no one's really going to tell you how to do it, and we decided to find like-minded people and kind of collaborate, and that's kind of how SOS started too.
That's exactly how it was. Is we found ourselves in a position where, man, these new sites don't understand what it was like. because there's so many like consultants, and you can call this guy and that guy, but we have to sit and figure it out. What the hell do we do? How the hell do we get a study? Now there's study vendors, recruitment
Yeah,
vendors.
for
Dude,
everything. Yeah.
man,
Now
those
there's
were all
rules.
bad back
Like
then.
there's actual rules now for like whether they're formal or informal. There's rules in most of the verticals, or at least established best practices. A decade ago, you're right. There wasn't really any rules. It was more, hey, what do you know? How do you do it?
Not only that, but it was these vendors didn't exist either. I think Dan and I were one of the first.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when whispers of eSource was around, and we're all like, nah.
Yes, yes. We got the
Yeah,
shirts.
yes, yes.
Hisham, I'm gonna save one for you. Do you want today's date is fine,
That's
or do
fine.
you want the sub I said it was okay?
I like the sub. I said it was okay.
You like this? Okay, I'll
Yeah.
get you a sub. I said it was okay. You look like a large, like a slim, like a
Medium, large, medium.
medium
Yeah,
large.
it's
Yeah,
slim.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Well, tell us about Vita Clinical Studies. Like, how did you grow so quickly? Everyone speaks highly of you, who I've talked to.
thank you.
You've gotten to know a lot of people in the space, and in Detroit, of all places, you would think Detroit would have had like a ecosystem for research.
Well, there's U of M and Kermanos. They're huge, but we're talking independent research. See, those kind of atmospheres, those that they have like academic research, or I mean, you have terminal patients there. The PI is going to come in and be like, "Look, I can give you this option. If you'd like, we can try this clinical trial." My own father joined the clinical trial and he had pancreatic cancer. So they're going to say, "I'll try anything, man." Or at U of M, or yeah, U of M, it's easier because it's like a different setting. When you have an independent research site like me, which is harder to do than embedded, you rely on your own skills and your own wits. You try and find your own PIs and your own recruitment methods. It's different. And I'm pretty sure the sites that are opening up here, most of them are, there's still few independent. Most of them are embedded. So like embedded is the challenge. And when you go to doctors in this area, they think they don't know what you do. They think you're a scammer. They get worried about this and that. So when you find a doctor, you hold on to them, and um yeah, now it's different. There's a bunch of sites opening up,
Hmm.
but I would say the atmosphere is still not that much different from when I came, in the sense that there's a lot of paranoia, and there's a lot of, look, man, doctors are gangsters. They're sharks. When they find out they can make money, they'll try and screw you over. And you work with a certain doctor and he understands what this is, then he'll think to himself, nah, I'm going to try this myself. Or nah, I'm going to hire my cousins and they'll steal everything and I can open up my own. It's happened to me.
It's happened to you.
You should have spoke to Hisham before you printed the shirts, Dan. Just saying.
To have more quotes, or
Yeah, like
doctors are gangsters.
yeah, the PIs are sharks.
PIs
That'll
are
be next
sharks.
2027.
I like that idea. I'm going to make my own shirts
Yeah.
now.
We'll get
Doctors
a
are
sponsor.
gangsters.
I'd wear it. No, you're right. You're right. I find that the entrepreneurial physician, at least here in Arizona, is a dying breed, and they're all selling out to big health systems and just becoming employees. And ultimately, they don't. When you do that, when you sell your practice, you still care like about your own patients, but you don't necessarily care anymore about the bigger picture, like the organization. How do we integrate research? That's someone else's problem now. And I think we still need those entrepreneurial physicians who, because those are the ones most likely to say yes to clinical research. And if we're starting to lose those, we would need to bet on the large health systems picking up the slack, which we all know they're typically only good at one thing, because when you get that much at scale, you become a factory. And anything outside of those printing press lines gets ignored. And research definitely falls way outside of that framework. So I think it's sad in a way that they are disappearing. But maybe in Michigan it's different.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, look, at the end of the day, this is a business. We have the physicians to provide the patient safety oversight. We have to make sure everything's ethically conducted. When that stuff's taken care of, then you can say this is a business and I want to make money. So me, I look at studies as, is this a money printer or is this one a money printer? So in that sense, if something deviates from the money printing path, ignore it. As opposed to in the beginning, I would feel grateful if I got like diabetic gastroparesis. I'm gonna be honest with you, I still don't even know what the hell that is, but I did the study and I enrolled the most patients.
Well, you don't need to,
But
as long as
now,
your PI knew and your
yeah, but
coordinators.
now I'm like, I wouldn't touch that study with a 10-foot pole.
Why?
You know what I mean? Because it's
Why?
not like equivalent to the study
It doesn't
that
print.
I get or that I need to print the amount of money that I require now for my massive expenses monthly.
I see.
You get it?
Yeah. No, I understand. And that for that same reason is why these large health systems ignore research.
That is correct.
So there's still going to be opportunities. We need to figure it out even more fragmented, because if more and more doctors are joining big health systems, they become fewer and farther between.
Mhm.
And those own remaining independents get squeezed out. Like in our town, they're getting squeezed out by the big hospital system here. So a lot of them are discouraged and they don't want to do private practice anymore. They're moving to cash pay, they're moving to
Right.
like medical spas. They are more inclined to do research because they're looking for other streams of revenue. But there's pros and cons to both sides of that. But what you just outlined is exactly what the big health systems are also looking at when it comes to things outside of extracurricular activities, which clinical research definitely is one.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do? What kind of studies do you guys do right now?
So right now, I have 2 family med PIs. I have
Two?
an
Are in
OB-GYN.
different parts of town, or how does that work?
No, so I have a site in Dearborn. I have a site in Dearborn Heights. They're right next to each other. And I also have a site in Arizona,
I
in
got you.
Tempe.
Okay.
So no, they're the family med. Each one it works at the other site.
Okay.
They interchange. One's listed as a sub-I for one study. The others are listed as a sub-I for another study. And
I
we
got
mix
it.
it up. We have the OB-GYN. There's the women's health, and then dermatologist.
What do you think about derm studies? I think they're sneakily difficult.
They are, but I actually think I'm going to make that my niche.
Really?
Yeah, I think
So
so.
there are way too many monoclonal antibodies, which basically means PK draws like every hour. And as an outsider, you look at derm and you're like, oh, that should be simple. It's pretty objective. It's skin. It's not dangerous or rarely dangerous. There's rarely an emergency situation. But when you throw in monoclonal antibodies and patients can pass out or have some kind of autoimmune reaction, like it becomes serious. At least
Yeah.
that's been my experience with derm. But we still do it. We try to get back into it too. Our PI moved to Hawaii. Shout out to Dr. Harris, but we're trying to get a new one here.
How's it going in Yuma?
It's going good. Last year we kind of took a step back as far as like the pace of our growth, but we've been growing like since I opened it here in 2020, late 21, early 22. We've been growing every year until last year. Last year was the first year that we saw a decrease in our growth, and this year we're just trying to get back to how it was the year prior to last year. So I think the Trump administration had a lot to do with that, and all the uncertainty around most favored nations and tariffs and the new FDA administration. But now that there seems to be clarity, I think I see kind of business as usual again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping we get back to 2024 levels.
Yeah, me too.
How about you guys?
We're good. We're slowly want to expand even further. But this is my opinion now. Now that I've owned multiple sites, I think that I'd rather just have one big ass site,
You
one
want to
huge
have
site
one
that
mega
has many
site.
studies rather than many sites that I send the same studies to and try and mirror the contract in each site. I actually don't like that. Now that I've tried it, I like one site and just make that an awesome site.
And are you thinking of going just one specialty, or are you still like multi-specialties?
I like multi-specialty, but I don't know. I'm feeling good about dermatology. We were
Yes.
number 3 on Sanofi's acne vaccine recently, and that's what kind of motivated me to go further in this
Was that
dermatology.
in Michigan or in Arizona, or did you get it at all of your
No,
locations?
it was only in one site in Michigan, Dearborn
Oh,
Heights.
okay.
That's what we call headquarters.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually in here right now.
I got to come out there and visit.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So have everything under one roof. You think it's just easier way to manage
It's
the
easier.
operations,
I like it.
and have the PIs come to you?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, you can streamline. I mean, at that point, you're almost getting into potential for phase 1 with the healthy volunteers.
That's the
And
next. That's
Mm.
actually one of my missions of going to SOS, and I've been utilizing the group chat. Seems like we'll be speaking
Oh,
with
the Hoova
phase
app.
1 experts there.
That thing is going crazy.
Are you in the
Yeah.
top 10? Are you in the top 10 on those chats? I'm gonna
Top
look right
10.
now.
Darshan is number 6.
Yeah, it tells you who's the top contributors.
Oh, I'm an in-person guy. I just message, I need to speak to you. Meet me here. Okay. And that's when I speak to them.
That's my Who app.
We're gonna have an excellent sit-down podcast. I can't wait.
Even
So we
wanting to
got to
interview
make
me
that happen.
for I think the entire
Hisham,
decade I've known you.
there's no
I think
one
this is
in
the
the
first time.
in the entire industry. There is not one site owner I wanted to interview more than you, because your story is so compelling. You're so animated, but at the
Thank
same time, you have so many lessons to give. Even when you were brand new, you brought lessons and perspective from outside the industry that were refreshing. And now, 10 years into it, I mean, you now have the research expertise and lessons like from within the industry. So I can't wait. This is just a sneak peek. What is the website that people can go to? And I got to introduce you to some of the sponsors there if you haven't worked with some of them that are there.
Sure.
We got to send sponsors your way, but what's the website where people can go check it out?
www.vitastudies.com. Simple website,
I like it.
simple studies. That's it.
Hisham, thank you for supporting vidastudies.com. Everybody go check it out.
You got it.
They have a nice tab if you're a sponsor or a CRO of what their capabilities, -80, -20, CLIA certified, anything you would expect.
Hey,
Surveillance monitoring and backup generator, refrigerated centrifuge, peripheral blood mononuclear cell processing. Wow.
Yeah, we
You're
do
gonna start
people
getting into some gene therapy stuff next,
trying
man.
to get into that Leuko pack. I'm sure everybody tried to.
The rare disease route is another route that I
I've
think
been
is going
thinking
to be
about that.
very, very good
I've been
on many
thinking
fronts.
about that.
Yes,
Let me tell you something. Man, this is a story. Maybe I should save it for the panel.
give them
travel
a
a lot.
sneak peek. Give them a sneak peek.
I travel a lot. I go to dangerous countries sometimes. I love to see the world and meet the people. There's nothing like the locals, but you got to be careful. And I was thinking, I think rare disease, some of these poor countries, you find a lot of these patients, and they'd be thrilled to participate in these studies, and they'd be grateful that you could fly them out. Or I don't mind logistically planning huge projects to ensure a successful outcome. I've done massive studies before in my facility in Detroit. I'll enroll 40 subjects. I did a study for a CBD marijuana company, phase 1, overnight in like the middle of Detroit.
I remember you were telling me about that one.
Yeah. And I wrote 40 subjects, and I had a fleet of nurses. I hired these nurses like that. I'm like, hey, who wants to make an extra $200-300 this weekend? I had nurses calling me, lined them up. The patients were sleeping on the floor. It was pretty ghetto. I can't say the company, but we did it. But I got the thrill of executing that. And I think rare disease would bring that out of me. I love
think
that.
so too. I think
Phase
so
1
too.
also.
And that is where I think that's one of the sectors of our industry that there are a lot of tailwinds. In addition to some of the stuff you already mentioned, but yeah, I think rare disease everyone should be looking at if they're interested in growing their business. We'll save the rest for the panel.
Well, look, I learned from experience. You can't share too much of your secrets. Because
Right.
your competitors are there just to know, to learn, and try and one up you. So I'm not going to give you everything I know, but I
But
can
in
share
the
with you.
3-hour sit down, you will.
Huh?
In the 3-hour sit down, you will.
Nah,
Whatever's
privately
interesting.
maybe, but I can't give you these secrets that are in here. That blood, sweat, and tears. I can't give it to the world.
It's like KFC chicken, man. He can't give you the recipe.
But you have to give us something for that 3
I
hours.
give you nice stories.
Okay, we'll take stories.
He'll give you,
there's
the
lessons.
failures.
I give you who to avoid and who not to avoid. I give you the lawsuits with the PIs and the shady
Listen.
people, all that stuff. I give you those stories. but I
Stories
can't
are
give
an
you-
easy, compact, and memorable way and portable way to transmit information. So we'll take it.
Oh, you
So-
got it, buddy.
Dan threw me a curveball a little bit ago. He was thanking you for the sponsorship. Absolutely, thank you for the sponsorship.
Thank you.
That's usually an indication we're ending the meeting. But I wanted to ask you. So you sponsored also our local meetup in Houston. Do you think, because we're looking for places to do them locally, right? To people such as yourself, do you think Detroit would be a good place to do one?
Chicago's better. That way, it's like
They
Central and
said
Midwest.
Chicago's better.
No. We're doing them all over, right? Like Houston, Miami, North Carolina,
Yeah,
Raleigh. So Chicago, not Detroit.
Two attempts to say Detroit were blocked. So Chris, it's gonna be Chicago or maybe Madison, Wisconsin, to keep Denali happy.
That's fine.
She's a friend. She's an ally of the SOS.
So no Detroit. No to Detroit.
Fine, Detroit. Look, I'm a real competitive guy. The reason why you said Detroit, I thought of my competitors. I'm like, no one can access these guys but me. So do it in Chicago.
You don't want your competition coming to you. Got it.
That's
Makes
It's gonna be a
sense.
great 3 hours. I don't think 3 hours will be enough. Hisham, I can't wait to see you in a few days, man.
You got it.
Have a
buddy.
safe trip. In all
Thank you.
seriousness, thank you for supporting us. It means a
Yes.
lot.
Of course.
And anything we can
Thanks,
do to
guys.
give back to you guys for sure. Vita Clinical
Of course.
Studies,
Anybody
vitastudies.com.
Feel free to message me, call me. We can share experiences and share knowledge. It's fine.
But you're a busy guy, Hisham. You're hard to get a hold of sometimes.
I know, man. People tell me I disappear.
You do.
Sometimes I'm in this
Back.
country. Sometimes I'm in that country.
I like it.
Yep.
Okay,
All right, guys.
everybody. Vitastudies.com. Go there
Thank
right
you.
now. Take us out, Chris, with your solo song.
Yeah, I don't sing, man. But could you?
Vitastudies.com.
Wait. I do have a question. So, Hisham, we're doing this poker event, right? And they weren't gonna play Kenny Rogers the Gambler. Are you familiar with the song? Wow, that's just
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them,
It kind of scares me.
know when to
How-
walk away, know when to
How
run.
do you not do that song at a poker event?
I've never
Well,
gambled in my life, brother.
Because you had non-poker players picking the playlist, Chris. That's why you're
Yeah,
wrong.
it was just like, wow, these songs have nothing to do with poker. They're not that vibe. They want a party vibe, not a poker vibe. But whatever.
Yeah, man. Let us have the party.
I'm also fasting right now, so I'm kind of out of it, guys. I think I got an hour left before I could break my fast. It's Ramadan.
Well, we'll have an
Oh.
old-fashioned when you're there, if you're allowed.
Oh yeah. Well, what's an old fashioned?
It's a drink. Type of
Yeah.
drink.
Oh,
a
I don't
strong
drink.
drink.
I don't drink.
Okay. we'll,
Haram.
have, we'll have sparkling water.
Sparkling water, I'll take it.
Okay.
But when we
let's see.
travel, we don't have to fast. That's the rule. So We can have lunch. We can have dinner. It's great. And you know what? It's on me. I'm going to take you guys out. It's on me.
Thank you, man.
Well, I don't know if we're going to have a chance to go out. I appreciate it though.
No
We're
problem.
gonna do a
We'll
3-hour
order
pod.
in for the staff.
3-hour takeout for your pod with Hisham.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
All right,
Sean.
thank you, Hisham.
I'll see you guys. Thank you so much.
See
VitaStudies.com.
you very soon and safe travels.
All right, SOS, Save Our Sites. We are now days away from the biggest event in the entire industry every year. It's
Wow.
by far the biggest event in the industry. Yeah, I mean, I can say it because it's my truth.
Your truth. Okay.
That's
yeah,
right.
that's right. Okay.
It is the truth. How about that?
I don't know about
Yep.
that. Your truth I can accept, but I don't know about the truth.
Somewhere between mine and the
Okay. Fair
on
enough.
the spectrum. So we're days away. You can still get your tickets, believe it or not. SaveOurSites.com. You might have to sleep on Chris's couch. There's no rooms left, but credit card companies somehow make it work. So check with your credit card company. But we've got very special guests on. We are interviewing Eclin Pro. We have Rainier and Jose, and they're here to talk to us about what they've been up to, what they're noticing from sites, interesting things that have happened since last year. And thank you guys both for sponsoring the conference. It means a lot to us as a small business owners ourselves, and same as you guys. So thank you, and we hope you get value out of it.
It's
You
been
missed-
a pleasure.
You missed the ultimate bullet point, Dan. How they can help sites too. That's crucial.
How they can help save our
That's
Well,
right. That's right.
That's a work in progress. Every day we need to improve and change and add more things because sites also have new challenges.
Yep.
So no one can tell they offer the complete solution or the perfect anything. We just develop, try, and then improve and keep going. It's been a pleasure since the first SOS. It's getting. I'm not sure about the biggest conference, but I can tell every year is like crazy, improving and super good. Last year was good. I tell to all my customers, we actually recommend to go there and retrofit with all the experience and all the new sites, expert sites, or there are a lot of knowledge around, and it's been like a unique conference, really good for sites. So it's something that we always talk about with our customers. So, and that's actually one way to help sites, right? To try to point them into the right direction so they can learn and improve from the prior experience from other site owners, because that's actually what you will see mainly in these SOS conferences, like site owners, which is so. In our just talking about Eclin Pro, so if someone haven't seen us around, we try to, as much as possible, to join all the conferences and talk about products and everything. But just in case it's the first time that you see us, we've been working in this software for sites since 2018. We launched in 2020. One of the things that we actually work super hard to maintain is our cost. So since 2020, we had the same cost, not the same product, right? We have improved like crazy. We have not only the CTMS, which is like the main product that we launched in 2020, including like the common stuff, like volunteer, a database, which is kind of an EMR to make possible like a pre-screen process and do recruitment, the calendar appointments and automation. But also, the metrics for the studies, progress, and also billing and live reports. We actually had a couple of years ago the source, the regulatory portion, all the other tools for marketing, which we know is super important, not only to get new studies, but how you're gonna accomplish your goal, like the recruitment goals. And we've been learning from different companies that do marketing, from our customer feedbacks, because our goal is actually one of our goals is to provide an ecosystem for all type of companies, not only small sites but multi-sites, CROs, SMOs, and sponsors eventually, to be able to collaborate into the same solution, same ecosystem. Meaning the sites will input the data, then CROs and site network will be able to review data and do the source data qualification, source data verification. Sorry, supplies, supply management, all the monitoring and everything, pulling data in real time. All that is possible right now with Iglento. And that's something that we're really proud to say because it's something that we've been working the whole 2025. We've been partnering with small CRO, doing a couple of trials. So far, so good. We have improved some things because there were a few tools that were new to us. But again, the whole goal of eClaim Pro is to provide a solid ecosystem for all type of companies to collaborate and make trials more efficient, to avoid data entry from one system to the other, to be able to put reports and identify issues before it's too late. So that's something that we work every day.
What kind of reports are we
Yep.
talking about here? When you say pull reports, what are we usually seeing? Like requests?
This is gonna be a report for well, actually for the site as well if they want it, but report pulling the data that they actually collect into the source, and they can
I got you.
create their charts and create different metrics to analyze and keep a track of
see.
the
So you can
progress.
create your own metrics, your own
Yeah.
key performance indicators, and track your site. It's highly customizable. Every site I talk to that uses your guys' tool speaks nothing but the best of you guys. And they even say when there's not a feature I understand, they jump on a Zoom with me, we fix it. I mean, this is like kind of unheard of in our industry. The fact that you're essentially a small business. I don't know
Yeah.
if you want to talk about, do you have investors or anything like that, but it's clearly there's a difference between the big players that have millions of dollars invested in them versus the small mom and pop, which would explain why so many Save Our Sites resonate with you guys.
Yeah, no, we're super proud to every time we hear the same, and that's actually one of the key points that we want to maintain all the time. We know a couple of customers that have like really good relationship with us. They were concerned at some point because they saw us grow pretty fast, uh, and they were concerned about the customer service. That you're gonna be able to maintain the the level of customer service that you provide. Like I can call you or this and that, and that's something that my colleague Jose can tell a little more than me. But yeah, we work really hard in that area. Now that you mentioned the investors before passing the ball to my colleague Jose, that's actually something that it's kind of a challenge. We are a small business. We could have like millions right now. We're like doing pretty well, but we could have like millions. Instead, we decide to keep going and the same same type of progress because we know that also, I mean, it's going to be beneficial for the company but also will bring another challenges like the same level of customizations or improvement that we do daily is going to be way slower because I can tell from previous experience being not in this industry but 20 years in software development team lead, and I can tell. So that's something that for now we are not interested because we would like to keep going and improve as much as possible to bring to the table like all the companies type of level so they can actually collaborate and put the data, measure the data, identify issues, and actually request the actual FDA form approvals and everything from our platform, like do the whole life cycle of the trials in our system. So that's one of the goals.
I see.
Now, I mean,
So that's maybe the key difference between you guys and everyone else is you kind of are going for sponsor CRO adoption as well as sites, and it makes the most sense, especially if we're going to get into a world where EDC is kind of considered old-fashioned almost, but they still need uniform data for the sponsors for the clinical study reports. So it's interesting how this is beginning to materialize. What have been some of the feedback from the sponsors and CROs so far that are using it?
Well, this CRO that is using Eclin Pro so far, they are really happy. Not because we are the best solution for CROs. I mean, they said like we are like wonderful, but I mean, I need to be honest. It's something for the software is pretty new, like a year, but they're rolling the study like super smooth. They are doing super good. They was able, because I can see, to enroll multiple locations, like a lot of locations in a short time. They can enroll locations like super fast. So I'm super happy for them and also for us that we were able to accomplish that. Actually, we
And-
made that in the last SOS.
Yep.
Oh, you met with them on the last SOS.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are you allowed to mention their name, or you rather not?
I'm not sure, but they will be there in the SOS. So
Does it
Yeah.
start with a T and end with a A? I don't know. I don't know who, but okay. Now, when you approach a sponsor, or when a sponsor says, "You know what, Rainer, Jose, we like the tool, we see advantages," or maybe a CRO also, their sites, they give you the site list, right? It's not like they tell you to go to your sites. They are already using it and say, "Hey, give them the study," right? Or is it a combination of that?
right now, every time we create an account, it actually launch like an independent account, and the company is the full owner of the account. So they are the ones that decide to bring different locations. We help them as much as possible to enroll all the locations profile sites, configure all the roles and permissions, because we know they are super busy. They need to be focused on the important matters. So we help them as much as possible. That's pretty much the same approach that we took with sites. So we trying to train them separately based on roles and everything to make sure they understand the product. So we kind of tried the same with DCRO, and so far it's working really nice. So we're super happy about it.
That's awesome that you met the sponsor at the last SOS. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Exactly the kind of connections we want to make, and we want to make more of them this year. And by the way, there are more sponsors showing up this
Yeah,
year.
it's all.
Yeah.
I know you guys are excited about that.
Yep,
You're already in Miami. It's nice weather, but San Diego,
it is.
pretty good.
Yeah. No, and actually, something I want to mention is on top of that sponsor, we received a lot of customers from the SOS last year. A lot of them were like a brand new site. Even they just had the doctor and they don't have anything, no studies, nothing. And that's when we come and we help them, because it's not just a software, that's it, done. No, we give them all our knowledge. We give them the, what do you need, SOPs, what you need, how I can help you to start your business. Because as soon as you start, you will grow, right? So yeah, as simple. Imagine that you are starting a new site and you want to do it good, right? You want to have your CTMS, your source, but you don't want to spend that amount of money, right? So we go and said, okay, I will not charge you anything until you get your first study. So it can be 6 months, a year, that's fine. In the meantime, you build your database, you build your all the eReg. So we help you with all that. We do the trainings, we train your staff, your PIs. So, and once you get your first study and you're ready, let's start. So
Wow.
that's how we try to help them.
This is a DSDS playbook.
Yeah, and you guys have a very competitive price point, if I recall.
Yeah.
For your e-source to newer and established sites, right?
Actually, I
Yeah.
think we're the only ones that publish the cost. For sure, we have different levels.
Mm-hmm.
For bigger companies, they need I don't know, dedicated resource or something that we can provide, of course, but just for small sites with the whole solution, so they can have all the tools they need to grow and grow their business. We have like a startup fee that we put pretty much everywhere, and the website. So anyone that watched the video can go to our website, eclampro.com, and check that.
Have you guys
Um,
gotten interest? I'm just interested. I don't know if too many other people are, but have you received interest from any private equity, venture capital? I know
Yeah.
there's a huge appetite for
What?
this
Yeah,
all the
many.
time.
Yes, yeah.
What do
Many.
they want? What do you think they want? Like,
I
besides the
guess,
obvious, what do they want? Like the end
I
game.
don't know. I guess they see the potential because this industry is like really good for business in
Yeah.
all the ways. And then maybe they analyze the amount of year we've been rolling Eclipse Pro, improving, growing. So they see the potential. Like I'm pretty sure they know if they allocate like this amount of money or something, they can make us grow. Like
They probably like the site base, right? If you're comfortable sharing how many sites they're using approximately, Eclin Pro, if you have that metrics.
site in number like 500, but companies, because there are a few companies there are multiple locations.
Sure, of course.
Like 250 something companies. Yeah, that's the number. Yeah.
That's very good for a bootstrapped. I mean, you guys are bootstrapped. I remember when I was introduced to you early on from Monica. I don't know how she found you. She finds everybody, and she's like, "Hey, you gotta meet these guys, Rainer." I said, "Okay. You know, we're hearing about all these startups everywhere, but you guys are here. 250 sites, 500 sites if you count the multiple locations. That is no easy task." And can you guys give a breakdown a little bit of your structure, like organizational structure? Who's running it? Who's working the customer service reps, if you have that, or what do they call them these days? The site care managers? I don't know. There's different names for these things.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a hybrid because little by little we've been adding AIs. Of course, we had two team members in the live chat that we have to attend any customer needs or anything that they need help with. But also we have like an AI in case they ask, the regular stuff like access, the common things. So the AI can help a leader with the customers support. But yeah, in general, we split like two sides. Jose attend pretty much all related with the business and the services. Myself, I attend everything related with the technology and the software and the ticketing system. And then below we have like two developers in my side, and then we have quality control. Jose have a little more a bigger team. Mine is like only 4 people. But Jose, because we offer a lot of services. We help the site. Jose can tell.
Yeah, because we offer more than the CTMS, the platform. We offer to help them to build the budget, the electronic source, even the paper source too. We have we configure the sources for over 300 companies too, and ePay. So all kinds of services that they may need, we have it. So we support them. Well, I always tell them to the customers is, you can do it by yourself. We can train you. We can have as many training as you want. But if you need our support, we can do it for you. So that's how we grow too, because we are so affordable that it makes sense for the business owner to say, okay, let me hire these people that know how to do it. They're going to do it faster. And then I can focus in, find patients, find studies, keep growing. So that's what we normally do. And something that Rainer mentioned, and it's very important, having a live chat, talking with real people is one of the keys, right? Because when you have a question in a system, you don't want to send an email, right? Just, hey, how I can do this? This is what you need to do. This is what you're missing. That's it, done.
You need to help now. If like my eSource I don't get into it as much anymore, but when I used to, I would live chat right away. It's nice to know somebody's there. It's going to help me out. I don't have time for an email. We have plenty of those. We have too many emails. We need to just instant chat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Something that we are about to launch. I know you had your concerns about the AI and the source, But I was telling my partner Jose, because it was like I know many people had their concerns about the AI and how the AI interprets the source and the issues they have right now and everything. But
Now, Chris has concern with AI. I love it.
a lot of people have concerns, but that's fine. That's actually what makes an important part of the business development. So,
Sure.
as any other industry, you need to, develop, test, prove, and then improve and keep going and keep going. If you
Yeah.
never start, you're never gonna have a good product.
Of
So
course.
in our case, I cannot tell like in details, but our AI is gonna be super good. It's gonna be
So, if I can guess, and maybe you don't have to reply, but your body language might give me the answer. Your AI will be able to help with queries or see if there's deviations or I see a little body language
Yeah,
movement.
the body language right now doesn't tell that much, but that's
Yeah.
next. The AI that we are
That's next.
developing right now, pretty much close to finish, is the one that actually design the source and configure the CTAs.
And that's the one
Right.
that's gonna understand the protocol. That's the one that's
Of
gonna
course, that's the
yeah.
basis.
Yeah,
And then, for the query system and the data points alert, we have now that feature in Eggland Pro. But you need to configure that. Let's say that the AI will be able to configure all the data validation points for you,
Mhm.
so you don't miss anything.
But just you can have their source done in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
How do you? I'm sure the big sponsors that reach out to you, they may have concerns. They're the one that would probably have concerns with AI.
Mhm.
I don't know if you were on the panel last year with Darshan interrupted every other question with his own. No, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do anything with Darshan. But I'm sure the biggest concern would be, well, these protocols. How do you kind of tell a sponsor, hey, it's in a controlled environment? They all gonna love the compliance, like,
Yeah.
but the issues they
sure.
might have are around the confidentiality of the
Yeah.
IP, right? The intellectual property.
So
I-
we are using a resource that are experts in AI. That's actually one of my main concerns. Like because it is a learning machine. You provide something, how that something is not being shared, how you can avoid that. So this company, in collaboration with our team, we're making sure the module that we use is private. So we're paying for that. It's private. We hold information. It's not public, and that's how we.
And that's enough. That should be enough to alleviate
Right
Yeah.
now, it's not, but we've been learning, adding more. If anyone that watched the video has a concern, reach out to us, because
Yeah.
we would
And
like
all
to.
the
I don't have as
documentation.
much concerns, but the sponsors, and then there's plenty of people out there to scare us with, well, you're not allowed to use this, you're not allowed to do that. You can't do anything until it's safe, and then everyone's doing it already. It's not special.
And that's understandable. I was scared as well. I'm scared still.
Well, I guess I'm scared too in that regard.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
I'll
you-
join Chris's side.
These AI, they know
Wait.
everything.
So you're representing my
You
concerns.
represent yourself, man.
I'm not concerned about AI. It's AGI I'm concerned.
No, but sure, that's so far down the road. What I'm talking about is like
Not according to many.
the Kulkarni concern is, I think, shared by most. Confidentiality of the IP. We don't want
Sure.
it. Last thing a small site wants is to get sued by Eli Lilly. And hey, we found out our protocol is in XYZ portals, and
Yeah,
we're gonna have an issue. Like, that's the last thing, and you guys need for sure too.
Of course.
yeah, because they don't understand something. That I remember there was a conference that we attend, and then a couple of vendors, small vendors for I don't know AI or business development, they approached to our booth, and the funny thing, pretty much all of them had the same product. I told Jose that's because someone used AI like the public model, and that get published. Then the second time you go there and you tell ChatGPT, "Hey, I need this and that," and they provide it, and everyone is super
Exactly.
happy. But then you don't have like proprietary type of thing. It's not unique. Like it's published.
ChatGPT is
That's
the
actually-
worst. We should not be giving that guy anything of ours.
Exactly.
It's super good.
Right.
You can use it. Depends how you approach it. But in this case, before we develop anything, we make sure that we use a private mode, so the data is private.
Well, that's very good information to know, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's sometimes it's as simple as that. Keep it in a walled garden, right? Don't let it
Exactly.
get out in the public. And if you have to pay extra for that, so be it. I mean, everyone's gonna be understandable when it comes to that.
And after they finish the entire protocol and all that is destroyed. So once you get the actual source, everything is destroyed. So there's no record. Yeah. That,
No,
again,
I
it's private.
like what you guys are doing. I mean, I think there's, and when you mentioned budgets, that's up Chris's alley too. Do you go as far as negotiating the budget, or you're just helping structure the budgets?
Just a structure in the budget, like the configuration and everything.
Well, we might need to partner with you guys on some of these fronts. There's some natural synergies between DSCS and you guys, I think.
Yeah.
We could
Certainly
talk.
is. And the MC of Save Our Sites conference, he seems to be a fan.
Raul Gonzalez, the best MC in the planet.
On the planet.
Certainly-
That were all
certainly-
expectations.
Certainly in our industry. The
Mhm.
best MC.
Yeah, he's
him
great.
and Ashley, they kill it. From Clarity Clinical Research Experience, this is a site in Santa Monica, California. eClin Pro has been more than just a platform. Hold on, how much, Rainier, did you sell Raul for this?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I'll send Raul a sale after the conference.
Yeah.
You sent the Zelle to me by accident, so I know you did it. Okay, it's been a true operational partner. The system is intuitive and built with sites in mind, but what truly makes the difference is the team behind it. Rainier, Jose, and their team deliver customer service that goes beyond expectations. Listen, I know I'm joking, but I've heard the same thing from people I'm not as close with as Raul, who have no interest in telling me, BS, and they all been saying the same thing. So there's something there with you guys. You guys need to keep it up. It's gonna be interesting to see how you guys scale. And if you keep growing every year, which I'm sure you have been, at some point you're gonna have to figure out, the challenge in any business, whether it's a site or a company, is how do you service more without losing the special touches, right? And that's the hard part. But that's another podcast by itself, just on that topic.
So we know we have like just a few minutes. I would like to mention like an important tool that we developed for sites for the recruitment part, because we know there are multiple vendors. I just want anyone watching the video to be aware what we can provide. So just so everyone understand, we have a connector in our system, like a marketing module in which you can launch a marketing campaign. Simple banner, the main information, just a questionnaire. That questionnaire, keep in mind, might be a small inclusion exclusion criteria questions. So the connector that we have can connect directly to a marketing campaign in social media, which is something that a lot of company does. It's nothing new.
Sure.
Also, we can connect to their websites, so they don't need an IT help to maintain, update this page that they might have to showcase the enrolling studies, etc. So that connector make possible a seamless leads application, like the participants application. So let's say you click either social media in their website, click apply, then you fill out just a few questions and apply. Automatically, the system knows if you pre-qualify or not based on the answers. That's fine so far. Then there are like a workflow that you can configure as part of the campaign. So you apply as a person, you receive a message, hey, this is a confirmation, etc., which everyone can customize, of course. And then after the system recognizes that you pre-qualified, it shows a calendar with the actual availability of the site based on their calendar, right? So the person can automatically schedule the appointment. It might be
phone call.
the pre-screen visit or a phone call. Depends how you configure the workflow.
And you guys are launching this right now?
It is ready, yeah.
Oh, it's ready. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is ready,
Yeah,
yeah.
you didn't have this last year, right?
Huh?
This is new. You didn't have this last year, right? This is a new product.
It is an improvement of the tool that we developed last year. Right,
Okay.
the workflow is an improvement, and the last piece, which is an important one, is the volunteer forms, like the electronic forms. Let's say that you want anyone applying to fill up and sign electronically some forms, medical release forms, NDAs, any agreement, so they can fill up and sign those documents ahead of the visit. So when they get into the actual appointment, they don't need to waste time, and it's something like smooth and process.
Wow. That's
Just be,
fantastic.
well, thank you. Yes, it is.
This is
It's been
great.
good. It's been
And
good.
there's so many, just from that alone, there's so many other, there's so much more also, because you see a lot of vendors in that space. You're going to see them at SOS.
Yeah.
But the fact that everything's kind of in one house with you guys,
Exactly.
right? Like, really, what I see that's still missing, which is complicated and a lot of sites don't use, would be like paper, or sorry, the payments for paying subjects.
Oh, we do have that.
Oh, you have that already.
Yeah, we have all that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, we had the
So what's
ePay.
missing? What's missing?
We had the ePay. We had the e-consent. So you can actually configure the whole thing. You don't need to do consent in a paper or
Yeah.
consenting using a different platform, which is not ideal because it's not connected to the source. If you use ours, it's ideal because if you launch a new version of the consent at night, the next date, all the subjects will be flagged. So no coordinator can make a mistake and enter data before the patient signed the consent versions.
It gets plugged into the IRB automatically.
I'm sorry?
The eClin Pro connects to the IRB, or how does that work? Like where
Not yet. So site has the, let's say, has the approved e-consent from the IRB and everything. They upload it and allocate the signatures.
I got you.
So the same format. We don't modify.
Yeah.
We don't have our custom different e-consent. Is the same approved e-consent. We just upload it in the system, and then automatically all the subject gets locked. So before subjects sign the new one, they cannot go ahead and collect the data from the upcoming visits.
I got you. Does that work with? Sorry, Chris.
I was just going to ask, what are you most excited about in terms of under development? Any new key pivotal features?
I got ideas for you guys.
Well, I'm more than happy to hear the ideas. I personally, because my background is in IT, the features that I enjoy the most personally is like the integrations, connecting different systems, collaboration. If possible, to connect with EDCs and EMRs would be like super. But it's still a challenge, at least for the EDCs.
Certainly.
Hopefully in the future. I don't know.
All right.
You guys are incredible every time.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Genuinely so. And it's exciting to see you guys grow. I can't wait to see you guys. When are you coming in? Thursday or Wednesday or when?
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. I'll be there Wednesday. We'll keep the lights on for you, like they say on Motel 6. We'll leave the lights on for you.
A little more classy than Motel 6. Just a little, though.
Well, congratulations again for the conference. I'm confident it's gonna be a success. Same like last year. Looking forward to it, and 100% is gonna be a success.
Thank you.
Doing an amazing job.
We appreciate it, and thanks to sponsors like you guys that are also have that entrepreneurial spirit, and it's attracting the right kind of sites your way, and then pretty soon you'll get some mass adoption, which if you haven't already, it'll continue to spike its way up. So keep it up, keep it going. I can't wait to meet you guys in person. Rainier and Jose, thank you.
I think you both were there last year at Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I met again. Like
again. Okay.
Yeah.
We've been in every SOS.
Yeah, they went.
Yeah.
I don't remember the first year.
No one remembers the first year because there was too much alcohol in a small amount of time.
Yes, and way too much going on.
Way too much. But the second one, you had at least one night to recover. So, yeah.
Yep, true. Very
It'll
true.
be nice to see you guys again.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay.
Everyone, go follow, like, subscribe, comment, share, and see you in San Diego Point.
What happened to Omni? Sorry.
Omni's old news, man.
You stepped on it.
Yeah. We are with Clinically, Angel Pettit, live from Boston, or just outside of Boston, but New Yorker at heart. Awesome guy when you meet him in person. He's got a bunch of stories to tell you. If you like sports, you'll have fun. And if not, you'll have fun too, because he can talk clinical research with the best of them. And that's what we plan to do today. So, Angel Pettit, thank you so much for coming on. What is your official role at Clinically again?
Yeah, so I'm the executive vice president of business operations, which is just a really fancy way of saying that I'm effectively responsible for most of our sales and customer success facing operations.
Ooh, fellow salesperson. Those are rare. When you can get that right, you're good.
I mean, I like to think so. So try to keep myself valuable, but that's kind of what my core functions are.
But the best products sell themselves, and I'm sure you will say Clinically sells itself once you get it in front of the audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, I think I've said this even here before. My favorite question I get from people sometimes is they'll ask me like, "How are you better than?" and they'll like name a competitor, and I have a very standard answer for that, and I tell everyone like, I have no idea. I might not be better than them. Like, I don't work for them. Like what I tell people ultimately at the end of the day, and I've shared this many times. You make a decision that's best for your business, right? And if you're shopping for who's better, you're doing it wrong. Like what you should be shopping for is which system and which products are going to fit my business properly. I've said this to folks sometimes on the side. I'll say this here for like the groups. I think we as a technology companies do a disservice to sites in the way that we operate, right? The Googles and Amazons and Salesforces of the world, like they won because they didn't just build products, right? They built ecosystems, they made adoption easy, like they obsess over user experience, they remove friction, they iterate relentlessly, and then they, most importantly, make it really easy for organizations to integrate and don't lock people into rigid, like closed environments. And I think that we, as an industry, as a technology provider, right? I consider myself part of the we. Like, you find oftentimes that people won't think they're going to rule the world, and so they're like, "Here's all the things we do for you, and we're the only thing. We don't need anything else but us." And that does a severe disservice to sites, because you should, if you're a site, say, "I love Clinically's eReg product. I love so-and-so's eSource product. I love so-and-so's eConsent component." And then we, the technology company, should figure it out in the background so that all you have to do is log in and do your work. But we don't do that. And that is, it is shocking to me now. And I'm 6 years in here now. Like I've been here in this industry for 6 years. But prior to this, I worked in education technology. And our CEO worked in finance, in the finance sector. And in those industries, like if you don't integrate within the infrastructure of like education, like if you don't tie to a college's LMS, you fail. Like there is no way you can succeed as a business. And so it's always fascinating to me that even after 6 years, I'm still seeing a lot of the same, like, nope, I won't integrate with that person.
Well, let's unpack this a bit, because we're going to make an article out of this later. And there's some interesting talking points here. So
Well, I actually had one question before you
sure.
do all of that. So, Angel, Dan and I have a site in which they've been utilizing paper for 20 years.
Mhm.
We're looking at changing
They're
over
stubborn as hell.
to
Stubborn
eSource.
as hell.
What would be your sales pitch to our site to use Clinically?
That's a good question. I mean,
Not 20 years stuck on paper, don't
20
want
years
to
stuck on paper.
transition.
Right. Like, honestly, sometimes the best sales pitch for anyone is maybe you don't feel like you have a problem, right? Someone has to have a willingness to make a change, right? To move forward. And I oftentimes have calls with folks and I don't tell them like, I don't think we're the right fit for you, right? You nothing that I say is going to change the mindset you have now that what you're doing is the right thing to do. And all I'm doing is adding complexity to your life. That's not why you invest in technology. You don't invest in technology to add complexity to your life, right? And so I mean, Brad kind of knows me a little bit better than some of the rest of you. Like, I'm not a browbeat sales guy. Like, you either need my help or don't. And if you do, I'm happy to have a conversation with you and understand how do we best fit the way you work, right? Because that's the part that I think some folks struggle with some systems, is that they are built in a way and they force sites to change the way they work to fit the way the system operates, rather than the site say, this is my workflow. How does your technology enhance the way I work? So I think a 20-year site that has been doing paper for 20 years, who has truly, in their eyes, optimized the way this works, they may feel that there is no technology, right, that's going to be able to support how they transition, right? You know, I'd argue that the biggest sales pitch to a paper site for me has always been the one thing you cannot solve for on paper without having multiple sets of eyes on a single source document is having guardrails in place to keep you from making even clerical mistakes, right? Writing that someone is 10,000 pounds when you might meant to write that they're 100, right? Or missing a field because you were rushing through the form and then realized, like, holy crap, I didn't take this person's blood pressure, and I didn't realize because the way I built my paper source, like the lines are so close together that I thought it was filled out and it wasn't, right? Whereas when you're doing an e-source, right, and you try to save that thing, it'll, at least for us, like, we highlight for you, like, hey, this field is missing a value that you said was required, right? And so, you sure you want to go? It's like, oh no, wait, hold on, Mr. or Mrs. Patient, come back. I got to do your blood pressure real quick, right? Like, or whatever the case may be. Like, that's something you're never going to get on paper, right? So that would be my, like.
I'm going to add one other angle.
Shout out to Rosario.
Pitch. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to add one other angle to your sales pitch.
Please.
And that would be, I would expect within the next few years, the industry will transition to not a want, but to a need for eSource. In other words, sponsors won't work with you if you're not utilizing eSource. I expect that's coming, right? Wouldn't you think so?
You know, yes-ish.
Mm-hmm.
If you told me 6 years ago that the majority of sites would still be doing their reg on paper and not having capabilities for remote monitoring, I would have told you on the back of COVID, I would have been like, yeah, of course. Like, there's no way that 6 years from now, the industry is not going to almost like mandate, right? You do this way because we've seen how valuable it is. We've seen, you know, how quickly sponsors have access to documents. Yeah, here we are. And there's still tons and tons and tons of people out there that do all their reg on paper, right? That don't have a function for a sponsor to monitor their reg documents remotely, right? And so I say, yes, that ideally, I think anything that adds guardrails to the data that is turned over to a sponsor will be beneficial, and that they should be moving towards that as a model. When is that going to happen? I feel like you just can't predict, right? Because things move very slowly here, as I've come to learn over the last 6 years.
So I've asked this question of all tech vendors.
Cool.
What percent do you think is still utilizing strictly paper of sites?
For source or reg or both?
Everything, yeah.
This is uninformed, but I think about the amount of people I talk to in a year, easily at least 30%, if not higher.
Okay. Most are saying 50.
Yeah, that's or higher, right? Like,
sure.
Right. You know, I think about our. I think
if you want to be, you know, I like to say we're fully electronic, but we're really not. There's some things that haven't. We still can't quite transition to fully electronic. So even if you are fully electronic, I think most sites probably aren't, because there's still a lot of paper getting shipped around. I don't know. I still get binders sent to my office. I'm like, stop it. Stop sending us binders.
I don't want those. Right.
No.
All you're doing is costing us postage to then send them back or burn them. Like, either way, you're giving me extra effort that I don't need. Yeah. I mean, I think about even our like customer acquisition, right? It's probably 3 or 4 out of 10 sites that we sign are coming to us from paper still, you know, and more power to them, right? I think the bigger interesting component for me has been some of our recent inquiries that have come from new sites who have no studies yet, but have made they've recognized that they want to put in place infrastructure, right? To have technology systems so that they can acquire studies and build out process around, we have this technology component to our business and we want to optimize and utilize that to help us grow our research business, right? And I think that is brilliant. Not enough people do it, because what happens, right, is then there's like, well, I don't have enough money coming in, so I'm worried about this. But now fast forward, they've got 10 studies running, and now they're trying to figure out how to like backfill information, or they get to a point where now they're running some of their studies electronically going forward, but then the other ones are still on paper, and now they've doubled their problems, right? And so that's kind of an interesting kind of shift that I've seen recently of some new sites. And again, kudos to them for recognizing it's worth the investment now. It makes me sad when I hear about them talking to some of our competitors, telling them they're not big enough or they can't afford them yet, which I think is, again, a wild way to treat someone that is looking to invest in technology, right, to enhance the business they're trying to get up off the ground. But that model is smart, right? Because now you're not worried about adoption or trying to say, well, we were doing it on paper just fine, and now you want me to switch, right? It gets away, again, we talked about friction, right? It removes all the friction if you started from the beginning that way. Then people don't know any other way to operate, right? And so you can build that into kind of your SOPs and the way your site is going to succeed because you've invested in these kind of systems early.
Well, I'm out for the count. I asked my questions.
So that they were good. And Brad, do you have any for Angel?
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to go back, for people who don't know, what does Clinically do? What are you?
It's a good question. So we are a technology company, first and foremost, that our core, I like to say our core business revolves around eReg. That is our bread and butter. It is the reason why I think most organizations make a choice to work with us. Mostly because when the CEO and I kind of started this company, that was all we were ever going to build for the reasons I stated before, right? We wanted to build this kick-ass eReg solution so that the consumer, right, the site would be able to say what we expected, right? Here's this awesome CTMS, here's this awesome eReg, blah, 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 blah. And now I've got this beautiful system to help me run my operations. Again, the big slap in the face that doesn't happen here. And so we've evolved over time. So we do eReg as well. We have eConsent built into our app. We do patient stipend payments as a kind of function of our platform. We have our own Part 11 compliant, sign on the line technology in there. And then the big news for us is that we finally, after many years of saying we do not and will not do this, have started the process of building out kind of the CTMS functions of our system. However, we've chosen to take a little bit different approach than the traditional CTMS in that we already kind of had volunteer patient management components in our system because we were doing eSource. So that was already naturally in there. We decided to split it into more specific like operations and finance modules. And the reason we chose to do that is we have found that within our existing customer base, we have some customers, especially some of the hospitals we work with, that will never care about the financial piece of a CTMS necessarily because they've got entire billing departments that manage that. And they don't actually care or don't want to have to worry about those components, right? But they do care about the operational piece and the calendar and whatnot that we've started to build out and scheduler and whatnot. And then vice versa, right? We have some organizations that have operated with some beautiful, there are some really good patient recruitment platforms out there for scheduling and for all kinds of, interacting with patients, right? Which is something we don't do in that way, but do want the finance piece, right? And so we started to take steps towards developing those in a different way. For us, doing that is methodical. Like we don't just release things and say, here it is. Mostly because we're not researchers, right? And again, those of you guys that know me know, and I say this a lot, like I've never done research a day in my life. We are like business process people, right? And technologists. I'm not the technologist, that's Henry's job. But effectively trying to say we rely on our customers and our sites to develop, like everything that exists in our platform exists because the site told us it needs to do X and do X well, right? And that continues to be from day one to right today. I mean, even today, like this afternoon, we actually at this 3:30 this afternoon, we do a quarterly like research working group where we invite a representative from every single one of our customers to participate. We had something from our last working group that was adding, document templating to our signature process. that we committed to based on the last working group to have ready for this one. We may have just released it yesterday, but we got it under the wire before the next one, like we promised, right? And that's like the commitment we make to all our customers. Like if we settle on a thing that we're going to do that comes out of this collaborative kind of circle that we put together of customers, and then we commit to having it in our system by the next working group, which we do quarterly, right? And it's like little things like that that I think I urge all my colleagues and contemporaries to not forget that the sites that we work with have valuable input and feedback into how we can make our products better. Not, it shouldn't be us that dictates, like, here's this cool shiny thing. What do you think, right? Because nothing's worse than everyone being like, I don't care. Like that is terrible and not helpful at all, right? And so, yeah, this is something that I think is like a core tenet of the way we kind of operate our business.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I don't know. I think there are other technology companies out there that are ostensibly site focused, but really seem to be moving more towards a move to make sponsors happy instead of sites. I think we're seeing a little shift in that. So, I mean, I think it's always nice to see, the companies that are truly site focused. And I don't know, a question I do have, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, and I think something I've struggled with a little bit as a site owner, but generally, are you seeing sites want to have sort of one platform where they go and live, or sort of do the things we hate sponsors for, which is like the best in class of each particular thing? And maybe, you guys developing more on the CTMS side maybe speaks to that a little bit. But I'm kind of curious, like what you see.
I'll be honest with you, I think it's mixed. And the reason it's mixed is it's a resource constraint problem, not necessarily a desire problem. And from a resource perspective, a giant site network that has a giant staff is probably a little bit easier for them to say, I'm going to use all the best in class things because I have different people that do these different components. Whereas some standalone sites, right, they have their administrative staff may be smaller, may be already overburdened. So that's kind of where I find it. I think this is what goes back towards my argument that you shouldn't have to make the choice to settle for substandard components of the system, right? That's the part where the system's broken, in my opinion, right? Is because we ask the consumer if they do in fact want things to just tie together, to settle for, well, we have everything. It doesn't matter if you don't like everything that we have, but it's there, so you shouldn't be complaining, right? That's a wild way to think about someone that's paying for your services, that's what your response essentially is, right? It's one of those things, like I had someone speak to us yesterday or recently, and again, talking about the Googles of the world, where they've used Salesforce to kind of almost build their own CRM. So they built something on top of Salesforce. And then Salesforce then provides services to help them integrate with companies that are like open APIs. And lucky us, like we actually in fact have an open API. And so the technology part works the way it's intended, right? Because they're on Salesforce, they've got this little mini development team that they can opt into that are going to now feed patient, information, right, into our volunteer section, so they can then be populated in source. Like that's a use case, right, for technology just seamlessly integrating with one another, right? But their current vendor, I believe they told me, like they have to wait for them to build a specific API for them as an individual customer, and that's inefficient, right? So if it's not the same, right, for everyone, like it makes it much harder to then figure out like how you want to tie those things together. So that's kind of what I would say about that. Is it's really more about resources. And so I find it's probably 50-50, honestly. The ones who say, I've come to like they come to us and say, I just want your eReg. Like I've heard good things, and we show it to them, they like it, and they've made a decision like we can work with it separately, right? Sometimes I get folks who say, I love your eReg, but because you don't have the full CTMS that I need, call me back in 3 months. Let's see where you are. And that's just kind of unfortunately the nature of the beast. But on the flip side, I'll be surprised. I mean, even before we had eSource, we had similar conversations, right? And then when we did have eSource and I called these people, they still weren't doing anything else. And then came to work with us anyway, right? Like, so it's kind of like one of those things where, all right, we'll develop it. And if it fits your business, but again, if we would have built garbage eSource, then it doesn't matter. Like this is my argument about AI. Like AI is a big buzzword, and it's fine. But if it's garbage AI, then does it matter that you have AI? Like just so you can say that you do? Now, a lot of AI companies are doing it well and right, and they've built models that make sense. But there's a lot of companies out there that are just like, we threw AI in our system. It's like, well, what does it do? Oh, it does the same thing that if I took that protocol and stuck it in ChatGPT, along with how I read components of a protocol, and I train ChatGPT to understand like what I expect to get out of this. Every time I put something in, I don't need to like pay someone else many thousands of dollars to just do the same thing to do myself, right? So that's my like I'm starting to get frustrated with it. Oh, we have AI, it's awesome. And I'm like, is it? Because is it actually providing a valuable service, right? Or is it just so that you can say you have AI, right? And that's the part that I think people overstate from it.
Sounds cool though.
Does sound cool.
So it must be good.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's. I mean, you know, if you're coming to anyone listening, coming to Save Our Sites, that'll be, you know, topic of
Right.
discussion.
I'm
as
sure
well.
it'll be a huge
little topic of discussion.
And if anyone thinks I don't feel strongly about this, they want to ask me in person, I'll tell you the same thing. Like,
Well, hopefully Darshan Kulkarni is not listening about uploading a protocol into ChatGPT.
No one would ever do that. No one would ever do such a
that. Who
thing.
in their right mind would do that?
I mean, the police are waiting outside your door just in case.
Angel, you said something at the beginning that I want to get back to. You said you shouldn't. I forgot exactly how you worded it, but you shouldn't. I shouldn't have to sell this to you. It should fit your existing workflow, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, what are those? You said they should analyze their workflow and see what fits best. Can you kind of get pragmatic a little, like based on your calls you've had with potential clients, what that actually means?
Yeah, I mean, I think too often, right? Like we ask sites to just, or companies ask sites to just change how they work, right? And I think if a site's workflow was broken, they might more than likely would be out of business or struggling in a way, right? So what I say to folks is when you're evaluating technology platforms, right? Your first question always should be asked, you know, what kind of support am I getting? You know, and here's like the 3 core things that I'm trying to solve for, right? I think a lot of times we just try to sell people a thing and we don't get to the root of what are you trying to solve for, right? And once we know what you're trying to solve for, here's the approach you could take in our system. Does that sound good, right? Like, does that sound like a thing you want to do to help enhance these 3 core things that you're trying to solve for, right? If the answer is yes, then us having this conversation makes sense, and let's dive deeper into the practical application of our system to those particular problems, right? And that's the way I try to frame a lot of the conversations I have with folks, because a lot of times people say, well, I just want eSource because I need it.
Or what about, I just want eSource because it seems like everyone's doing it and I don't want to get left behind, like Chris said.
Right. But then but what are the parts of that you think are going to help you, right? And so that's where I want someone to say to me, oh, missing fields, it would be something that I don't want to do, right? Or right, making sure that that I didn't miss what the IE criteria is, right? Like our system, like you put in the IE criteria wrong, it flashes red immediately, like this person does not qualify, like, and do a thing, right? There's instructions you give, and you're doing a piece of paper, you forgot, or especially you think about coordinators that work on multiple studies in a day, they're seeing multiple patients, and it's not far-fetched for someone to not realize, like, this was my obesity study for so-and-so, and this was my obesity study for someone else, and the requirements are ever so slightly different, though the question might sound the same.
Or missing headers. Like I
Right.
remember back in the day when we used paper, you'd see 5 patients. You wouldn't fill out the headers because you're trying to get the patients out the door. And then at the end of the day, you're like, I think this one's for this study.
Right.
I remember doing it, on this patient. Like you just kind of leave it up to chance. So there's some clear benefits to it, regardless of system. But then I think the issue a lot of sites have is, okay, well, which one's best for like this workflow? For example, I got kind of surprised when maybe I just don't know of any, but we have to use monday.com to like project manage internally amongst ourselves, like what's missing. And I feel like all these tools, I don't know if you guys have one, but all these tools should have something similar already built in, like to the dashboard. It seems like it would be a simple feature too. Like we don't even use the sophisticated way you're supposed to use Monday, but I'm still paying for it per seat. I feel like there's still a lot to be done in our
Are you
space.
talking more about let's like kind of like a task management, generally speaking, like internally?
Like for management, like, well, what'd you do today? How come that's not done this week? You know, and I tag you.
Right.
And then you have till next week to do it and upload some stuff here just so I could see it. I don't want to log in to the eSource. Just put it here. I need to see what you're doing.
So I'm laughing only because I wish I had it to pull up for you. But so part of our working group I mentioned earlier, we solicit from our customers, like, what are some of the things you want to discuss as potential options for us to tackle or look at? And literally one of the 5 items on there is with kind of like a task tracker of some sorts, right? Which is because it is not necessarily a query, right? It's not necessarily data specific, but
you don't want sponsors to see it.
Right. Like I just want to tell the coordinator that the lab reports are due on Friday, and like they need to make sure that they route them for signatures to the PI and get them finalized, right?
Yeah.
Like and things like that. So it's funny you mention it because it's one of those things that I have a feeling we're going to end up exploring later this afternoon. So next year at SOS, I'm happy to talk to you about our new like task tracker that is probably going to be embedded within our system somewhere.
I think
or if we decide to have a mid-year SOS, then maybe by then we'll have it. So,
well, when you consider all the shit that's out there, you know, it's like, okay, well, I still have to go outside of our industry to use some tools, which should not be the case.
I will say the counter argument, and again, this is again a resource thing. A really big organization that might be using something like Monday, there's probably an API available to feed information from a system like ours that they'd be able to pull, like these documents have been uploaded this week, or I mean, like just lots of information that would help feed and inform that, right? Without it being built in the, and again, I'd love to have it in there so you don't have to have it in different places, but it's certainly something that is explorable.
And Monday's expensive. I mean, if this AI keeps getting better, I'm just going to vibe code a solution for it because it's not that hard to do. Like, kind of messed around with some vibe coding this past month and pulled off some crazy. I have no business coding, by the way. Like, none. And if I could pull it off and it works like half of the time at least, I know some of you nerds can do way better.
Yeah, I do not put myself in that bucket. I also have zero clue about what that's not my lane.
Yeah, you're not.
I stay in my lane, right, which is not that.
But clinically has nerds working there, so one of them can figure it out.
I like to call them the big brains. I think it makes them feel better, but yes.
Better than nerd. I mean nerd affectionately speaking, nerd. Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting conversations here, but that's really what I wanted to ask is like, how does a site analyze its own workflow, especially like the core clientele of Save Our Sites? They kind of come to get best practices. Like, well, we don't know it all. So when you ask me to analyze my workflow, this is what I have, but I'm not saying this is ideal. Yeah. This is just what we have.
Yeah, no, I think that's I mean, for me too, like if we're looking at technology and I'm like, oh, well, this actually possibly offers a better workflow. So yes, like I get what you say. It becomes very tempting to sort of like, I'm going to shoehorn my workflow into this technology, but there's also the idea that it is better. I'm not doing it optimally.
Yeah.
And so this is going to help. And then I think that's where it gets to be like a challenge sometimes to determine.
I mean, I think the pivot for us in those scenarios, honestly, is, kind of harking back to this is how customers do this today, right? That they seem to find to be a successful way. And if that's something you would like to adopt similarly, like we can help you do that, right? And that is true today. Like we do that now. Yeah. Somebody asked me recently, like, can you just send me a video demo? I don't want to sit through a demo. I just send me a video demo. And I told them no, like, no. I don't do that. And they're like, why? And I said, well, to be fair, like I've been in this business now 6 years, and in 6 years, I have never met two sites that operate the same way, ever. And so it is much more critical for us to spend an hour together so that I understand, right, like how you do certain things, and then give you some suggestions to your point of, hey, here's how other customers use our system to solve for that problem, right? Or here's how we've seen people do this. Because similarly, like I can't really see the whole thing because it's cut off, right? Like our tagline, it's clinical research software that puts you in control. It's kind of a kitschy tagline, but ideally, right, like I want to be able to say that on the one hand, like we work with a Dana-Farber, right? Like on the one hand, they can customize our system in lots of ways, but so can a brand new site that we just signed recently that does 4 studies a year. They both have the same capabilities to be able to customize things in our system and build it into the way they want to work. I don't care that one of them is a giant cancer center and the biggest cancer hospital in the world, and the other guy does 4 studies a year, right? Like we don't have separate enterprise price. Like it's just your site and you're a customer, and we're going to treat you as such, right? And that the working group, even like we see people collaborating each other, it's great, right? Because I don't want to spend the whole hour and change talking. I love it when they start talking to each other and they start collaborating with one another. And that's kind of how I think you can solve for some of those things, right? Just for the like, I actually want someone to help us. Well, yeah, we're happy to help you by sharing with you stories and use cases that other customers of similar size or similar kind of makeup have managed to do this in our system. And if that works for you, right? But again, we don't force anyone to do it, right? If you want to use our custom logs, you can. But if you don't want to, guess what? Then don't. Like we ship the product with some sensible defaults. But if you Brad want to call your team clinical research coordinators, and Dan wants to call them study coordinators, and Chris wants to call them superstars, guess what? All 3 of you have the option to do that and make it so that it feels like you own it, like regardless of our preconceived notion of like how your site should work.
Just FYI, I'd be more likely to call them coordinators, and Dan will call them superstars. Just saying.
The good news is then you can easily switch it on your own without ever needing my help. So there you go.
Huh. I mean, some interesting points. I think you're right to use Amazon's and Google's as examples. Although I think, they test the hell out of every click. Amazon's notorious for, okay, well, why is no one clicking here? Or everyone's clicking this. And I don't think in our industry we have that kind of data at scale that I'm aware of. And also the difference is these are not consumers. These are workers, clock in, clock out, or they're on a salary. Like, I think they wouldn't care what system they're using. It's still work to them. And they're like my staff. I'm going to be honest. One time I asked them, would you guys be interested? And we played around with this one instead of this other one that you're always using. They couldn't care less. Like, can I log in? Can I do my job? So I think the core audience is actually like the site directors, site owners it's our job to look for what's better, what's more. To Chris's point, with one of our staff that uses paper, she's not going to switch to anything until we force her to. And that's not because she probably would say it might be better, but this is how I do it. And this is my job. Why would I make my job harder voluntarily? There's no incentive there. So ultimately it's a site director, site owner decision.
But I think that's the point. I think you actually just kind of almost made the point, right? Which is the day-to-day person that is working in this may not care in the long run what the name brand of the system is. They just want it to work.
Yeah.
But I still consider you the site director as the consumer, because it is essentially your job to say, how do I make this process as easy for my staff as possible while also providing value to me, that I know that everything is as efficient as possible. I have access to it. I can see it, right? I have visibility into what's happening, right? Like your priorities are significantly different.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, I think we make it harder for you to do that, right? Without making the decision Brad brought up, which is either I have to say, yeah, I'm going to do best in class across 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different things, or I'm going to pick one thing and just deal with the fact that I don't quite love these couple things, but the rest of it makes up for the fact that I don't quite love these things, right? And so I don't disagree with you, but I think that's the priority levels of who's using it is
Yeah.
vastly different in that respect.
Yeah. And ultimately, you got to make a decision, and everyone's got to
Right.
live with it. So,
Right.
yeah. It's
I
not
mean,
simple stuff.
I had a customer of ours tell us about, they were having some struggles with people just wrapping their head around that they were making this change from paper. And I had suggested to her, like, there's a book, it's called Who Moved My Cheese. If you've not read it,
That's
it's
fantastic.
like, tiny, skinny book, right? I make every single person that works here when they start here read that book. It is a requirement. They have to read it and write a little essay, because if that's the first part, like, change is hard. Everyone admits it, from, the milk you drink to whatever, right? Like, people just, they can't wrap their head around sometimes, like, I have to do this different thing. And so that's half of the battle, right? Is getting people to accept that change can actually be good. Change can also be bad, right? Like, it can be both. It's
Yeah.
not always that it's better, but if you're not open to the fact that what can change may be beneficial, then it kind of immediately puts a roadblock up. And that's where I think at the higher levels is when you sometimes then just need to make decisions, right? Like, at the end of the day, I know this is going to work for us long term, and this is why I think this is the best approach. And that's kind of a responsibility that sits on the shoulders of owners, right? Site owners and site directors. That is a responsibility you've taken on, but it's also why you have the roles you have, right? So, they kind of is where I think that fits.
Well, I mean, we can go another 3 hours, or we can just wrap it up here. Because you guys.
Are you trying to say I'm boring? What? No, I'm kidding.
No, I got tons. I mean, Steve
I know, I'm
Jobs
kidding.
said, "Never trust the customer doesn't know what they want. This is what we're gonna give them." I kind of, being an entrepreneur employer, kind of resonate more the older I get. Like, you start giving your employees choices, things get a little complicated, right? Like, too much so. Like, rather than now, it takes someone who knows what they're doing to do that, to pull that off. You can't just do that without having any background on the industry you're about to do that to. And I'm starting to think about our industry and software as a service being a model. That's the paradigm currently, right? Paying per seats. AI seems to be paying for tokens.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We can go 3 hours, like I said,
Yeah.
or we can just catch up in San Diego.
For sure. Yeah, I mean,
It's up to you
I
guys.
think the last thing I'll say about that real quick though is I think there's a clear delineation between, like, employee choice versus a site in its totality as a whole as a consumer of technology, right? Like, I think those two things are weighed differently,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so that's the only part that I would say. Sometimes, like, you work in a job and your boss tells you, like, this is what we're going to do, and you're going to have to figure it out, right? That's just the nature of industry, and that's not unique to research. That's sometimes the way it is, right?
Mhm.
Other times, right, they might ask for your input, and then you give the input, and they don't listen, right? You still have to live with the fact that you want to optimize the way you work, and you're going to find a way to do it. So, but yeah, I mean, look, I anybody that's out there, like, that's coming to the conference, and if you still haven't registered, you've got a few more days to do so. I heard it sounds like there's still tickets available. So if you want to have some more like vivid conversations with the four of us, or you want to come and tell me I'm stupid, which is also fine, buy a ticket and come out to SOS.
Get your tickets, guys. SaveOurSites.com. It's a lovely place we're at. I don't think there's rooms left, but figure out a way. There might be rooms. I heard through credit card companies you still can.
There's plenty of places in San Diego,
Yeah.
Right.
nearby.
Not too far from SeaWorld.
There you go.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you and your time and the forum and opportunity to chat. So
thank you, Angel. We'll catch up. Looking forward to it.
See you next week.
Get out of the cold, man, and
looking forward. No more long sleeves for at least a week. That's going to be the next
shorts and a tank top. Huh?
That's it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Angel.
Come out clinically. There we go. We are live just weeks away from SOS in San Diego, which should be our biggest. It's only our third year, but it's our biggest event so far, judging by registrations, judging by sponsors. And we're lucky to have one of the original sponsors from day one, Real Time. We've been through, this is a new logo, by the way. Congrats on the new logo. It looks clean.
Thank
I
you.
recognized it from last year that there's a difference. So what was you want to walk us through like the inspiration for the logo, or was it a time for a refresh?
It was time for a refresh. I mean, hey, I like the previous look. Don't get me wrong, but we're going through a lot of really exciting change at Real Time, and I think it was time to kind of refresh not just the logo, but in the look, but it's also really the messaging and really kind of what our North Star is and what we're building. So it just kind of made sense to do it all at once.
Yeah, I definitely want to ask more about that, but thank you guys always for supporting us since day one. It really means a lot to a small conference like us who have somehow transitioned to a not so small conference anymore after this third one. We'll see if we keep growing, but Rick Greenfield, Nathan Levins, and then I'm joined by SOS co-founders Monica Quitiva and Chris Sauber. So I guess to open it up with, there's been a lot of changes in the industry, a lot of changes in technology. You guys are a tech company, or do you consider yourself a tech company?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're eClinical Solutions, right? So we're working to build tech that improves processes and hopefully connects stakeholders together and makes our industry move a lot more smoothly, which, as we all know, is a challenging concept.
Yes.
Yeah, and Dan, there's while a lot of things have changed, there's some things that haven't changed. Sites are still needing great technology, they're still needing interoperability, all those things. And so, while there's changing in the industry, there's still a lot of stable things too.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. I think we're lucky in a way. Well, depends how you look at it on your perspective, but we're lucky and disadvantaged at the same time, because in research there's so much regulatory overburden on everyone, right? All the stakeholders, the tech vendors, the sites, the sponsors. So if you ever want to predict the future, it's very easy to just look outside our industry and see what's going on, and you could almost get it 100% right. You may be wrong on the timing, but you just look outside. Okay, well, AI is taking off. Everything's becoming more automatic, more passive, autonomous. And I always ask all the tech companies in our space, like, are you guys paying attention to these signals? Is it a lot of noise? Can you separate the noise from the signal?
I always like to joke, Dan, I used to always say, if you want to figure out where clinical research is headed in about 20 years, then look around at other industries, because we're typically pretty far behind. But I do think that's changing. I think we're speeding up, and we're figuring out how to innovate and iterate faster. I still think in many respects we're misguided and going in the wrong direction sometimes, but we find our way, and I hope that there's a lot of great change coming actually on the horizon. You brought up AI, and that's always going to be a big topic right now. And, we're leveraging AI. We're looking to integrate AI in a more meaningful way moving forward. But for me, I'm also wanting to be careful with AI. I'll give you an example that happened yesterday, because we use AI to look at code and help us interpret, bugs in the code and things like that. And yesterday, AI got it really wrong. And it actually just made stuff up. They call it hallucinations, right? And so, one of my fears with AI is, because you're seeing people wanting to use AI to interpret protocols. That's a scary concept to me, right? We're talking about something that guides, obviously, patient safety, guides the data that the sponsor needs for the study, and lots of other regulatory things. And I'm going to allow AI to tell me what the protocol says and trust that to care for a patient or administer this protocol correctly. And so to me, that's a lot of faith. And I don't know that we should have that much faith yet today. So that's just an example of, I think we need to, obviously, hey, I use AI probably 10 times a day, you know, whether it be just a note taker or something like that. But there's certain cases where I think we need to be careful.
Yeah,
So
Rick.
that's essentially reassurance for those worrying about their jobs then. So what I hear you saying ultimately, right?
Well, you know, for at least the next 12 months, right?
Rick, what I think where you're getting at is there's always a human in the loop right now. Like we're not out of that stage. You know, if you had an agent inside your CTMS, would you trust that agent to go do things automated for you? Probably not. You would probably want to be in the loop on that. So we're still in the assistant stage. I think a lot of people are wanting assistants to tell them, hey, this is what I see, this is what I understand. What decision do you want to make? And so the human in the loop element's still there. And so I don't think we have to fear for our jobs yet, but it is, you know, a step closer to AI being able to automate things.
Yeah, I had a meeting with a group of people that know a lot about AI, and they were mentioning exactly that critical thinking is probably one of the most important skills when it comes to using AI. And AI, or the agents are a tool for us to use. So it's at this point, everything is still good, but we have to work on learning more about it and improving our critical thinking.
Yeah.
The human in the loop element's important. If you think about the AI, how they work versus how we work, it's fairly similar. I mean, we have routines, we have tasks, we have workflows, and the AI is ideally better in some respects because it doesn't get bored, doesn't get lazy. But to Rick's point, you know, there's things that AI will do that a human will get fired, like making the product worse, you know, whether it's by mistake or intentionally, which I don't think the AI is doing it intentionally, but, you know, that's something that you definitely need adult supervision over. And maybe 12 months, maybe 18 months, maybe never. Maybe that part never goes away. You're always going to need some element of QA, but certainly tasks are being automated and more of the grunt work from the site side is being alleviated by AI, which is a good thing. And then eSource was the original, you know, level up for sites. And that was the first time where coordinators said, hey, I don't need paper anymore. Like if I really wanted to do this study without paper, I could. And it's interesting to see all the other elements starting to come through. But that was really the initiator. Getting everything digitized was the catalyst for all this other stuff. Not just in our industry, but everywhere else.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I was going to say you're also seeing some level of digital protocols. I actually forgot the acronym. I have it written down here somewhere, but protocols that are going into a very specific digital format, which makes them a lot easier for things like AI to parse. So if we move in that direction, then, you know, I think we can see some greater reliability with how AI is able to interpret and how we can just leverage protocols in general.
So sponsors are saying, hey, sites, you still need to read the protocol and understand it, but we're going to format it so it's easier for the AI to do it too.
Yeah, and then even that, but like maybe having the ability to use AI to build out your financial study template in your CTMS, or even build out all of your eSource forms and have that be a completely automated process. But once again, like if I had AI build all my eSource forms, would I want to just go see a patient without, you know, a review and QA? Probably not, right? We have to, like you said, I think reduce workload, save time, but still need some level of oversight.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at as well is we still need to work on the foundation for AI to be very valuable. And so any tech company in the industry really needs to be thinking about how they're structuring their data, how they want to use that data. So that way, when you do put AI on top of that, it is actually useful instead of just being, you know, hallucinating and all those things, or AI drift, all those cool terms that are coming out now.
Well, the thing is AI doesn't want to say, I don't know. AI wants to give you an answer, even if it's the wrong answer. And so that's kind of some of the things and that's, again, what we call hallucinations, where it's just like, it's trying to connect dots and they don't really connect, but it's like, well, those are the only ones I have to connect. So here you go.
Hey, some people do that too.
Exactly.
Well, if AI said, I don't know, probably stop talking to it, right?
Yeah, and talking about how the industry is evolving and about just e-source purely. Other thing that I have been hearing a lot, the sponsors and the monitors, is that the monitoring plans are going to change, or we're seeing it change already. That now is more like the monitor is not going to go to the site as often as before. So the monitoring visits are going to happen mostly remotely. So that is an older piece of the puzzle that is pushing the sites to go and use electronic services. And it's also important because in the feasibility questionnaire, when they ask you or when they come for the site selection visit, now the sponsors are looking at that because that's going to help them do this monitoring visits plan remotely rather than in the presential. So have you guys seen any changes on that? More people going to electronic services, or the sponsors reaching out?
Well, yes, 1,000,000%. Certainly, we're seeing the industry digitize, right? We're seeing the uptake of electronic tools being added by sites and sponsors. But I think obviously our focus at Real-Time is more on enabling sites and empowering sites to work more efficiently. And so, the uptake of eSource and eDocs is growing rapidly. And it's a perfect segue into another area that we can improve, and that's removing transposition of data, right, from one system to another. And we're still doing that. We're still seeing a ton of that. And even documents, like we're storing documents here, but we're still having to then upload them into another place or a portal for a sponsor and a monitor. And so, to me, we're introducing opportunities for error. And certainly just the fact that we're having to do things twice is completely inefficient. So what I'm hoping is that we can continue to work as an industry to find ways to interconnect and move data between systems in a successful way. And that's actually something that Real-Time is very passionate about, pioneering some tools to be able to move data between systems.
Could we get, maybe on that note, we get a little nerdy for a second, then we'll come back. But I think that's an underappreciated aspect of how difficult that task actually is. Interconnectivity amongst platforms that don't want to talk to each other. Like they were designed to be siloed, and now we're trying to open them without really their not necessarily their permission, but without any incentives on their part to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the huge problem. Is you're talking about a multi-vendor environment. I like to, just like in software, it's a many to many relationship. The sites use many different vendors. Of course, we're one of them. I would love for everyone to use Real-Time. Dan, I'm happy to get you on board whenever you're ready. But the reality is that not only is that not going to happen, but it's also that people are going to use other systems. People are going to use Clinical Conductor and Creo in this system. And so we're never going to own the market and have everyone. So if we know that all the sites are going to use different systems that meet their needs and have the features they're looking for, the same is true for the sponsors and the CROs, right? They're not all going to use Viva or this or that. They're going to use different systems. And so we have to have interconnectivity from all of these systems to all of those systems. And so there's a lot of concepts out there that are single vendor concepts. And I think those are flawed in just their basic concept. And so we're looking to help to bridge that gap, which you are exactly right, Dan. It's very, very challenging. It's easy in theory. It's easy in concept. It's very difficult in application. And so,
but is the overall mood of the tech vendors in the industry, are they aligned with what you're saying, or are they still fighting about whether they should do it, or is everyone pretty much on board now? This is the new paradigm.
Rick, do you mind if I that one? So
please, go ahead.
Yes. What I'm seeing is, we have standards. We have data standards, ODM standards, all these standards that are already there. We're just not leveraging them to the extent that we need to. And there are also, a lot of platforms just lacking functionality and features around those standards to make this easier. On top of that, there's processes, right? If I'm starting a trial and I have a project manager, they are kind of shocked when they hear, oh, you can connect to my EDC with the ODM standard or some other standard. And then they start thinking, well, what does that mean with my timeline? Do we have time with it? Do we have to validate? All these things that come out. And so we actually need to come together and figure this out. The whole process that is probably much simpler than we're making it. We tend to, make things a lot more difficult with validation and things than I think it should be. And so I think if we all collectively came together, we could figure it out pretty quickly. It's just these conversations are kind of siloed and isolated.
Is there some kind of consortia? It sounds like you guys need a Save Our Tech Vendors conference or a group that kind of will advocate for this. Is anyone doing that?
There's been lots of different consortiums stood up here or there. They don't tend to last very long. I think the time and effort that goes into the discussions often, people get distracted with all the other problems we're dealing with every day. And, we don't end up moving the needle. Plus, there's just a ton of challenges, right? You are talking about getting competitors in the same room and deciding they're going to work together to all get on the same standard for data transmission. And,
right.
And so when you do have a lot of vendors out there that are working on the single vendor solutions, and so they really aren't really considering or looking to connect into other vendors because it doesn't really fit into their ultimate vision of what they want to build. And so, but we have at least solved for, and I say solved, I think largely solved for an EDC connection utilizing what Nathan was talking about, an ODM modality. And this is something that already exists in almost every EDC system out there. And it's been used for years. And it's something that we can use to start pushing data into EDC. And we just released our EDC Connect tool a few months ago. So that's an example of utilizing a standard that already exists largely across all of the EDC vendors to start moving data. Now that we don't have something similar like for, say, EISF to eTMF, you have single vendor EISF to eTMF solutions, but not a many-to-many relationship there because there's really not a standard for that. But these are things that as we start to move into eTMF, we hope to be kind of the leader and the pioneer of saying, hey, we have this system. Yes, of course, our EISF can connect into it, but here's how everybody else can connect to.
Yeah, that's the interesting stuff. I mean, the EISF is a particularly good example of lack of alignment among sponsors. Like if you ask a sponsor at a conference, hey, electronic consent, oh yeah, 100% on board. When you do your SIV, we're using e-consent. Oh no, you can't. You have to use paper consent, or you have to use e-consent of this vendor, which you're not using. So all the eSource vendors, or at least the reputable ones like you guys, Creo, the other ones, they have their own e-consents, right? But it defeats the purpose because the sponsors are kind of pushing another vendor that you've never heard of. So there's another login that you don't need. So what do sites do? We'll just go to paper. I'd rather do paper than another login, honestly.
Well, you bring up a great point. So I'm part of DTRA as well, and I'm on a subgroup within DTRA, which is all about BYOT, bring your own technology, which is really what sites are wanting to do, right? Is use their own technologies. I don't want to use 5 different e-consent systems on 5 different studies. I want to use one, right? And so how is it possibly going to be efficient for my coordinator to learn how to use 5 different systems and do a consent in this room on that system with this patient, and then go into the next exam room and have to,
and not make mistakes and be
not
for the patient.
Like, and you're talking about one of the most highly regulated processes in a clinical trial is the consent, right? And so, but in DTRA, in this subgroup, the question was why? Why are sponsors not open to sites using an e-consent solution? And I think that was the most eye-opening thing for me, is it's just out of pure concern that the systems aren't compliant, right? They don't have control over them. They think that they're going to lose control over the process, and it's going to open them up to possible, FDA blowback. And so it's like, well, if you understand,
they don't control the process. Like the coordinator and the PI control that process. That's it.
I know. I know. And you think, well, paper, you have no control over paper, right? Who knows what goes on in that room when you have paper? Who signed this? I have some ink here, but who actually signed this, right? And so it's like, surely you can agree that an electronic process where we can validate who is actually signing this in an electronic, validated way, surely that's better, right? But it really is out of maybe an overabundance of concern and a lot of walls we have to break through in order for sponsors to really get to a comfort level that they can let sites just have control over their e-consent process. So that was really eye-opening for me and a big part of what we did last year at DTRA. And Nathan, I know I'm doing all the talking, man. So
well, that's okay. I have lots of thoughts too. I'm just thinking. I mean, obviously, every site gets questionnaires about e-source or e-regulatory and other things to bring that confidence that it's compliant. We just do the same thing with e-consent. I don't understand the hang up on that. They all follow Part 11, Annex 11, all of those regulations that we're familiar with, and so it's the same concept. E-consent shouldn't be any different. So it seems like it should be relatively easy to get over those fears if we just talk it through or figure out what the standard question would be.
Monica, Chris, I don't want to hog up all the convo, but we can have 3 hours on this. Emerson, interoperability starts with vendors who aren't competitors. Well, then it's going to start with no one because they're all competitors. Wondering if that would be an easier place to start. I don't know.
Well, I don't know how that's possible if we're really going to get to having true interoperability on a mass level, right? Competitors don't really need to work together. We just need to agree on a standard and that we're going to utilize a standard. So, hey, you use Creo, this site uses Clinical Conductor, that site uses Real-Time. Great. You use the system you want to use and you love it. And it does all the things you want it to do. What we're talking about is how are we going to now take those deliverables, right? The data and the documents that the sponsor needs from you, and how are we going to move those into a sponsor system, which is also a bunch of different vendors. And so if we can agree on a pathway and a standard, then all we need to do at Real-Time is tool up to that standard and Creo and Clement and the other guys, right? And then we all get leverage that same standard. And so it's not really so much like working together. It's just like, can we just not agree on a pathway to accomplish this very important goal for our industry?
Well, Emerson, I would add to that one. Emerson, yeah, thank you, Chris. We have this blueprint that you're outlining. It's called SIP, Shared Investigator Platform, and it sucks. If you ask, like, any site, I mean, maybe some will, like, try to kiss ass and say it's good.
Nobody.
It's not good. Nobody. So you have this. I think competition is actually what's making it better. Right, I think politics, and not the political kind of Trump versus Kamala. I'm talking like politics of let me wine and dine you so I could win this contract. I think that's actually what's causing this interoperability blockage. It's not necessarily the competition. That's just my opinion.
Well, but you have the SIPs, right, of the world, and then you have Longboat, which is an Advara solution, which and then you have some sponsors are building out their own multi-vendor portals that you can connect into. So you're still looking at all these different places that I got to figure out how to get connected to. Like, it still falls short of something that we can all leverage, a single standard. And so that's that was kind of where we started almost, is like, where are we going? Where are we going to be in 20 years? Like, sometimes I feel like we're moving fast, and other times I feel like we're absolutely moving sideways. We're building things that I think if you just sat down and thought about it for a minute, you'd say, well, that's actually not going to be a long-term solution. So let's don't waste our time on that. Let's figure out what our North Star is and let's start building towards that.
Do you guys think the eSource landscape right now, or I mean, the eClinical solutions landscape now, do you think it's pretty much shaped out the way it should be? Like, it's not winner take most. There's been a lot, like maybe 6, 7, let's call it a dozen providers that service sites. Do you think that's a good, healthy number, or do you think there's still room for improvements, innovations? Like, where do you see, and then as a follow-up, how many sites percentage-wise, if you know the actual number, use eSource on their own volition, like not because they're forced to, but actually pay for it?
If I could jump in there just a little bit. So in the EDC on the EDC side, there's probably what 5 main players.
Yeah,
One
like
of them is
half a dozen.
dominant. Rave, right? It's probably the most dominant. So is that the similar setup for, as Dan's asking, on the eSource side?
Well, I'll take it, and then I'd love Nathan's thoughts too. But first of all, I believe in capitalism, so bring on the competition. It makes us all better, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody has an idea and you bring it in, then at the end of the day, it's the site that win. And I'm really talking more about the site solutions, right? So I've always been in it for the sites. I would love to think that all the great ideas come from me and my team, but nope, there's a lot of other great ideas out there. And I think, the competition just is healthy, and it just makes us grow faster. So that's how I would answer that question. But, as far as like percentage wise, SCRS does a lot of polling. We get a lot of good data, I think, out of SCRS, worldwide. I'm sure it's not perfect because, there's only a limited subset of people that respond to their surveys. But I think we believe that eSource is around a 60 to 65% uptake.
Wow.
But
is that over? Sorry. Is that over paper? So about 65% of sites use eSource opposed to paper. Is that what you mean by that?
Yes. But I do question
that answer polls. So it's, it's probably less
50-50. It's probably like 50-50.
Yeah, if you really go worldwide and you really get into the people that are a lot of the smaller sites out there that are not responding to SCRS surveys, it's probably a lower percentage for sure, right?
Yeah.
So we don't really know, but of the larger, I guess, more prominent sites, we're definitely seeing that uptick grow pretty fast.
Sure.
Medidata has a hold on the market for sure. We've done some polling that there's no question they have a pretty sizable market share. But hey, there's other EDC vendors out there that are growing and working hard to make systems better. So again, I think that's just healthy for that side of the industry. And Nathan, love your thoughts, buddy.
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of thoughts. You see, obviously, Medidata Rave, let's say they have 65% of the market. They're a huge player there. But with eSource, I think it's a lot more competitive. I don't think any one vendor has 65% of the market. So I think what that means is sites are really looking for what's right for them. They're not just going with the main player in the market. They're going with what's right for them, their processes, their staff, and all of that. On top of that, I think, the more vendors, the better. I mean, I think it does get saturated at some point, but for the sites, if you're in this for the sites and the patients, more options is better. Because again, sites are trying to figure out what platform can I use at my site to streamline my processes and my data collection and ultimately grow my business. And that could be different for everybody. And so I think having so many vendors is actually a good thing for the industry.
It is good, yeah.
And collectively, we should all be thinking about what's good for the sites, what's good for the patient.
Yeah.
So,
I think the pricing pressure, just the pricing pressure alone for new competitors keeps the established ones honest as far as, you can't be a cable company here and say, okay, well, this is our price and that's it. Otherwise, go watch regular TV.
Yep,
oh, sorry to interrupt you on your previous thoughts, Rick. But that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. We've got a long way in 3 years because you were at the first conference, right, in Tucson?
They're the first, yeah.
Yeah. And we had a panel on this, and at the time, best guess was 80% were still using paper. So even moving over to 50-50 is quite an advancement in 3 years.
What a difference 3 years makes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but eSource has gotten a lot better too. What eSource was 3 years ago is not what it is today. Just looking at what we've added into it, it drives so much more process and compliance, and that's the huge benefit of it. I always say, look, if you give me a packet of paper and put me in front of a patient, I can scribble and write. And that's a very fast, efficient process. It's hard to beat that on a laptop or a tablet, from just a pure efficiency standpoint. But when we start getting into the quality of the data, right, and the attribution of the data, you cannot beat electronic source, right? And now with Skip Logic and all the other sort of data checks, edit checks, and then the fact that it flows into the monitoring side, and we can do electronic query resolutions, and now we're going to be pushing that into EDC. We're starting to see some efficiencies all around that patient touch point that create massive efficiencies.
Yeah. What are some of let's go with Chris's theme, continue. From 3 years ago till today, like how have you guys improved the product? Just maybe some of the top 5 biggest ones. I know there's been more, but top 5 off the top of your head.
2 that come to mind for me are just data quality and security. When people are using these systems, they need to trust them. They also want to make sure that that they're actually getting better compliance out of them. And so, to Rick's point, do you have those edit checks and those value checks and things built in? So, those are 2 things that come to me, is just security and compliance.
Well, I got a couple. So one would be our Engage participant portal that allows all of our participants to have their own portal, whether it be on a web-based laptop or tablet or their phone, where they appointment reminders, the ability for them to know where they're going and how to connect to their site and stay connected to their site. So I think really bringing patients into the technology is the future. Obviously that can turn into recruitment tools, that can turn into a lot of retention opportunities. And then that also includes satisfaction surveying. So now we can know, are we keeping the patients engaged and happy throughout the study? And if we're not, what can we do differently to get better scores? So I think that's a big component of what I think all the vendors need to be looking at, is really the patient side of it. The other thing that we're doing is maybe not quite as exciting, is supporting scale. And it's amazing to see how big site networks have become, so much bigger than I ever could have dreamt. When when we brought real time to the market, a lot of our sites were little single sites. Maybe someone had
you came from a bigger site, right? But at that time it was big. Today that would be considered small.
No, the site that I had was one of the largest in the world, and they still are today.
Okay.
But now that site is part of Flourish. And now Flourish has I don't even know, 35 sites or some crazy number all over the US. And, the data, the amount of data that they are pulling in just in a single day is mind blowing. And so now our systems have to scale to support that level of an organization. And so just being able to build in that scalability, the reporting needs now, these companies actually, this is a quote from one of the leaders at one of these networks, is that we are really a data analytics company. That's what they do. They compile all the data from all their centers, and they're looking at trends and, how to basically run their business by just analyzing the data. And so we're having to supply that data at levels that we really never envisioned, 10 years ago. So it's really just it's kind of neat, but it's also a big challenge, is just to keep up with the massive growth.
And if you pull on that thread a little further, AI is only as good as the data you give it. So eventually there's going to be another application there.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure you guys thought of it, but the industry as a whole, perhaps.
Yeah. Rick, you also made me think, just to give you an idea of scale, a study can have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of data points collected, depending on how many subjects and visits you have. And that grows really quickly. The other thing is some of these studies require multiple users on a patient chart at the same time. And so being able to build for a scale of multiple people loading forms and pages and working together collaboratively, that's been something else that we've worked towards.
Well, and just to put it into even more perspective, you were saying potentially hundreds of thousands of data points on a single study. That's the data that you see. We also have to collect audit trails for every single click and movement on the back end. So we're storing hundreds of thousands of data points every day, just tracking all the user audit trails in the system. So these data sets grow.
Wait, you track every click?
Yes, every click, every page they view. We have to have it. That's the attribution part of eSource, right? You have to know
time spent per page.
Well, who's in there? Who's putting that data point in? We have to know all that.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, the trial.
The stuff we can do with that, I think later on. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking clue points, I think is what the FDA uses, or at least used to use some tools like that. Clue point, endpoint, something like that, where they could detect fraud. At least this was back in the day. I don't know if
Oh,
they're still
really?
using.
Okay. I'm not
Yeah, I
familiar
learned
with
that from Robert Goldman. He's a sponsor monster, and he said, "Oh, we can detect everything with this thing called Clue Point, and that's what the FDA uses to trigger audits."
Okay.
That sounds like you guys can provide that same kind of data too. Interesting.
Sounds like a BS sniffer.
Yeah, it is pretty much good. Yeah.
Very nice.
I
That'd
like
be a
that
good
name
name
more.
for it. Yeah, that'd be a good name for it.
Well, you can't really do that with eSource, and I think that's one of the fears of some sites, at least. I mean, I've heard these stories on the sidelines. Is like, oh my gosh, now every user click, who does what, who signs what, how quickly they sign after a lab is received, how quickly does a doctor review it and sign it. You can't lie. It is electronically documented what happens in the study.
Yeah,
so
you can't lie.
I
heard,
there's a lot of visibility there, right?
Somebody recently came on my pod. I can't remember who, but it was funny. They were saying that a monitor was trying to accuse one of their PIs, like subtly, not outright accusing of perhaps not being honest about the dates. And they're like, well, if we wanted to backdate, we would use paper. We're using eSource. So we're not backdating. If we wanted to, we can just use paper.
I love it. And it can definitely work in your favor. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It raises the bar on accountability. And I've had a lot of sites tell me that they don't have to worry about team members backdating anymore, because as soon as they do, they can find it and they can prove it. And so it does increase the level of quality in research for sure.
It sticks out like a sore thumb too. Like if everything's eSource and then one document's uploaded there, paper signed, everyone looks at it. It's like the spotlight goes right to that thing. So you're like basically flagging what you did. Like, hey, look at me. Anyone else going to ask something or say something you didn't get a chance to say?
What
what
is the newest thing that people can look on real time?
Well, I can't divulge too much, but I mean, we're very excited about we're very excited about EDC Connect. I believe that this is something that could really be the next big wave of innovation in our industry to move data to EDC and stop transcription. The solution is readily available for everybody to use. We're using it and it's working. We're working with the top CRO in the world to really start using it on a very high level. So that in and of itself is super exciting. We're developing a lot of new tools in eSource to allow us to work in lots of different types of applications. So very fast-paced, large cohort, early phase feed and bleed types of studies, if you will, where, like Nathan said, you might have 20 coordinators, taking a cohort of 50 patients through a line, and they've got to do serial blood draws, PKs, vitals, all that kind of stuff, and having a platform that can support all those time procedures. But to Nathan's point, it's a lot of technology to be able to support all these users working in eSource at the same time and making sure that you don't have data collisions, right? Where people are trying to collect data and they're not overwriting each other and things like that. So there's a lot happening behind the scenes in this software to allow for these types of workflows. So, I mean, those are probably just two things off the top of my head that I think are really, big next steps for us in the industry. We certainly have a lot of really cool things that we've got coming in 26, and hey, our roadmap, if we can see into 27, then that's pretty exciting too.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Thinking of, Rick, is just the need for global support. So, we've had a lot of customers that say, hey, I've got a trial that's running in multiple languages, and I need to be able to build source documents in English, Spanish, French, and Bulgarian. So having an efficient way
Wow.
to be able to do that, that's something we have today. And so that global support is becoming more and more needed.
So yeah, we launched translations of eSource in 2025. And so very exciting that we can now take an eSource form and push it out in all those different languages for those multinational customers.
That's huge because the LATAM, that's a huge growth area. Eastern Europe, Africa, huge growth areas over the next decade for research. And
those countries require you to have it in their local language, depending on what type of research you're doing. So it's very important for them.
Right, for their regulatory agencies, right? But then the sponsors would prefer English to.
They need to come back in English to go into their EDC.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Yeah, that's another. Wow. Well, it looks like we need more tech vendors like you guys. I mean, there's plenty of work, I think, to go around, and there's still a lot of sites globally that have not switched over, and I do see eventually EDC not being a thing anymore, or data entry not being a thing anymore, little by little. How fast do you think that happens industry wide? Do you think this year? Do you think 3 years, 5 years, never?
I used to think that EDC, I mean, look, of course, who knows what's going to happen 50 years from now, but I used to think that EDC might be on the chopping block, but I actually have changed my mind. I think EDC's here to stay for at least a good while. It's just too heavily ingrained in what sponsors and CROs do. And so I think we really need to look at the movement of data from eSource into EDC, which is what we're doing. And maybe that's a 10-year, 15-year plan, right?
So EDC, yeah, I think EDC will be around because the clinical study reports are too dependent on that data. But the act of entering data twice, right? Like,
we're already removing that need today.
Right.
We can't do it 100% across the board, but we can do it probably like 85% of the time. So that's a pretty good percentage. We would just need to close out another 15%. Really, that's just because there are some EDC vendors out there that don't support the ODM model. And so I think they're probably going to have to at some point. But hey, and we could be wrong too, Dan, and we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But the solution's certainly working right now and working with success. And so I think it's something we should all look at.
Yeah.
I think some progress is better than nothing. So
that's true.
If it's already 85%, it's already great.
Even if it's just a stepping stone, okay, right? We've got to keep taking those steps. Take those.
Well, 85% can be, remove that step, but from the studies we're doing, I mean, it's 100% of them require data entry of some sort. So then it's like, well, what tools do you have to alleviate that? And I think
you have to start with real time today, Dan.
Yeah, I like it. So you guys can plug into any EDC, and it will take care of the data entry.
Anything that's on the medium standard, which is basically all of your big ones. And then they have to have certain functionalities and things around that, being able to import data, things like that. But on the whole, all the major ones.
And what's cool about it is it's not immediate data transfer. And I think this is actually a benefit and a very important point. I don't think any site wants to collect a data patient bedside and have that data point just flow directly into EDC in real time, right? I mean, we want to have the opportunity as a site.
Intended.
Yeah, well, exactly. We want to be able to review the data, QC the data, make sure it's really ready for a monitor CRA review, right? And so with this tool, it does exactly that. You collect the data, you have we have internal monitoring portals for sites where they can go in and have internal QC people review the data. And then when it's ready, they can export it and then upload it into the EDC. So there is that intermediary, if I said that word right, review process before it makes it to the EDC.
So is there like a button in real time where you just say upload? Something to that effect?
I hope it gets to be that simple at some point. It's not today. It's a data file export that's then consumed by the EDC, but it would be very simple to make it so that it's a more automated upload. But that would require
push and play.
Right. That would require require some development on the EDC vendor
Or
side.
plug and play.
Like keep in mind, there's always other middleware tools that automate. So there's anytime there's a file transfer, you can have a listener that picks up a file, plugs it in, those types of things.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
like how technology has advanced a lot in this past probably 3 years,
Yeah.
more so than before, and hopefully the pharmaceutical industry and research industry goes almost level to the rest of the world, right?
Well, and it's in a way it's recursive because if you talk, we talk to a lot of tech vendors for these roundtables and just in our spare time also. What we're actually doing is figuring out the workflow, right? We're like reverse engineering a coordinator's workflow because to provide a site-centric tool, you're basically, okay, let's figure out what does a coordinator actually do? And then when they're with a patient, when they're not with a patient, what do they do? And you're breaking down every piece into code, ideally at some point. But then you're changing their workflow because if you're taking that away from them, now you're changing it. So now they're going to have something like a different kind of workflow. And so it's kind of a never ending, but hopefully spiraling up and to the right. But yeah, this is interesting stuff. I like being involved in this cutting edge type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a great
Mhm.
Go
I
ahead,
like
Monica.
that the majority of the vendors that are part of the SES, of SOS conference, have been working a lot in technology, advancing a lot the different tools for the sites, and by being on this roundtables, on these webinars, podcasts, it's just so mind-blowing to me how much technology and how much have we been advancing. And truly, it seems that the past 3 years is where all this technology explosion has come. And like Rick was saying, this is only going to get better, and also the competition is going to improve it. So I'm excited for what's to come. And
Yeah.
thank you for working on the technology, because we really do need technology that works.
Well, thank
So
you, Monica.
it's- yeah, thank you.
Sorry, well, I just want to say that, like, and I want to reiterate for all of you that real time, we have always been focused on sites. We will continue to be focused on sites. We build site eClinical solutions. That's why SOS is perfect for us, right? We're here to save the sites from all these inefficiencies that they've had to endure for all these years. And I think we've really made some serious strides in that. Last 3 years, I think it's more like really the last 5 to 8 years that we've really seen technology come in and do a lot for our sites. And I think there's still so much more left to do. But if you're thinking about real time, if you're talking about real time, just know that, like, we're not shifting our focus to sponsors and CROs and how can we get into their pockets and all this stuff. We want to enable sites with more technology that helps them succeed. And that is really our vision as a company.
We like to hear that, definitely. So thank you guys for being the day one sponsors.
Thank you for
Emerson,
your
thank you for
support.
being engaged.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Well,
guys.
it's been a great,
Again, look forward to the conference.
been a great conversation. We're well over runtime or scheduled runtime.
Oh, they're only half an hour? Wow.
Thank you.
All the best to you. We'll see you soon.
And we'll see you guys soon.
You'll both be at SOS?
I don't think either one of us are at SRS. SOS.
Well, that's
it'll
too
be,
bad. You're going to miss out on
Hey,
the
you're
weather.
missing out on San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? When I heard San Diego, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do love San Diego. I love the Gaslight District, so I am gonna miss it. I'll try to be at the next one though for sure.
All right.
Okay, Rick. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Thank you guys. Bye bye.